Хорд. Ладно, хрен с ним в следующий раз. Так. Disco Elysium. You are bewitched. Ту-дум, ту-ду-дум, дум, дум, дум. You are bewitched. Продолжить. Так, стрим будет, извините, не очень долго, потому что опять все перекрутилось. Я обожаю, работать с траве-кланами. Убивал бы всех уже. 3 часа у нас есть, 3,5. Так. Можно вот так ходить, прикольно.
A heavy door with a missing handle stands before you, covered in dozens, if not hundreds, of Seminese trinkets and charms. It appears to be locked.
Постучать.
Only an echo. No one is there.
Хрен с тобой, давай. Так я умер. Так, можно я загружусь?
You feel something in your chest.
О боже, можно я загружусь?
It's spreading to your left arm.
Да.
Surrendering now.
Игра?
Cop suffers final heart attack.
Я не понимаю, то есть если я что-то делаю, то он мне не дает, что ли? Быстрое сохранение. F9. Но я во время движения не могу. Что за бред? Эргономика, ладно. Ну, то есть, пока я не закончу анимацию смерти, то я не могу ничего сделать. Какой шанс на самом деле? 17% планов запуть. Так, с этим поговорили, валим отсюда. You are bewitched. Так. Тут сломал этот платный бинокль. Теперь он не работает. Северный объезд. Причал Мартинеса. К Тибусу.
This coin-operated viewer is facing southwest. Its coin slot is full of fossilized bubblegum,
Бедный маленький бинокль.
Inaccessible. The metal feels cold and wet under your palm. It looks unhygienic. A thick layer of graffito covers the lenses. You spell out the word Onug written on the other side, with N and C scribbled backwards.
Отлично, это Куна был. Прелесть какая.
That's Kuno on the lens. Under the graffito, a sea of blues and greys appear. Behind the water lies a coast, studded with concrete and reeds. On it, a church on stilts, lanky weather-worn wooden planks, an X-shaped cross topping its tower. You know this to be the star of Periconesus, or the Cairo, the central symbol of the Periconesian church, a star, a great moral height to be strived towards.
Okay.
The church looks old and weather-worn. There are no lights in the windows.
Вандализм.
Probably some kids.
Так. А это что?
This coin-operated viewer is facing south. The instruction manual says to insert 25 centimes and pull the handle while looking inside. Then use the focus knob to zoom in if necessary. Why place a tourist attraction in the middle of such poverty?
Что туристический аттракцион делает
There
здесь?
was a revitalization project in 49. A design studio tried restoring Martinez to its pre-war glory. It didn't stick.
А
They
что
got as far
случилось?
as the street lamps and the statue on that intersection. Then something went sour. I suspect that something was Évrard Claire, the union leader. He muscled them out. It's how it usually goes around here.
Мы что-то можем с этим сделать?
We should have done something about the union 10 years ago. That ship has sailed, officer.
Ладно, бросить
Your
монетку.
money disappears into the coin slot. A clunk. The ring of metal. The curtains on the display open. You lean in to catch the view. It's blurry. Different blues and greens. In the middle of the shimmer stands a drab grey shape, like a ghost.
Подкрутить крючку.
The lenses shift. The ghost sharpens into an islet in the bay. In the ruins, a man-made structure is visible. A half-sunken sea fort. Its concrete almost reconquered by nature. It looks as if it was abandoned quite some time ago. Nothing but a rotten tooth remains of the anti-aircraft tower. A lonely birch tree grows out of it. Its leaves ripped from it by the winter wind.
Развалин какого-то строения.
Really? I don't have the eyesight to make it out.
The little brave birch tree seems to wait.
Окей. Эй, а я не могу больше подобрать бутылки? Серьезно? Странно. Шерсть от пуль. Ну, хорошо. Активный инвентарь. Что с ним делать? Собирать тару на улице. Я понял. Хорошо. Забавно. Что? You are bewitched.
Have you no shame? Whining about your back every time you bring out the measuring tape.
René, you're a man with a fork in a world of soup. Please, let's just try to enjoy the game.
Хорош.
Right?
I'm trying to, but you keep breaking my concentration. You're old. I can see that. We're both old. Now stop grabbing your ass like it's a girl.
These manly men are playing balls. This is a ball game.
Bold.
Grab a ball and play it. Don't ask questions. Shoot first. Ask questions never.
Never. Shoot first, think never. Так, может сначала спросить, что это за игра?
No, you got this. There's the ball. You're the game.
Показать как надо.
You are immediately surprised by the ball's lack of weight. No matter. You'll make it work.
Чувствовать шар.
The cold metal ball is surprisingly smooth against your neck. It has a pattern on it, probably a sponsored ball. Yours would only be covered with bumps of learning and scars of victory. Already your muscles are adjusting to the weight, the nervous system calibrating, until you and the ball have merged into a single entity. The man ball is ready.
Посмотреть окружение.
A chilly breeze ruffles your hair as you stand there, feet firmly planted. All sounds, smells, even the wind, everything fades until the only thing left is the union of man and ball.
Еще есть время, чтобы заглянуть внутрь себя. Кто я такой?
An embodiment of pure motion. A
Oh.
fine-tuned locomotor running at maximum efficiency.
Эффективности, не
Some
мощности.
would still say you're a cop, but I guess we're beyond that now.
Стань пулей.
Merde! Bordel de merde!
A whorehouse of shit.
Да.
It wasn't whorehouse of shit. The shot was at least 23 meters, probably 24, and then some. Nothing to be embarrassed about.
What the hell is your problem?
Точно не слабый правый
I
трицепс.
don't care if you are a cop. You do not just ruin someone's game. It's so goddamn disrespectful.
Стоп, что?
You vandalized our game, son. We can't play pétanque with 5 bull.
Ах, питанг! Теперь понятно.
No, no you don't. Our pétanque game is ruined. We want our bull back.
Take it easy, René. This is just a misunderstanding, isn't it, officer? No harm done.
Ну окей.
Of course there's harm done, you orange slug. You are as a goddamn bull.
Ладно.
Good. Mistakes are forgiven when men at least try to right their wrongs. I believe you will try. Now why did you approach us?
Yes, why did you come here? It's unlikely they know anything about the murder.
Окей, вы, похоже, играете в воронки.
Yes. The terrain here provides an interesting variety to a familiar game.
Это как-то связано с теми отверстиями от пуль, что я везде вижу.
Yes. It was left by heavy artillery fire.
Значит, воронка это здесь снарядов, но почему?
Why what?
На кой хрен тяжелая артиллерия?
Because that's what happens when communards hijack your country, execute your supreme leadership, and turn your capital into a slaughterhouse. You use heavy ordnance to clean up your home.
Так, кто такие эти коммунары?
Commies, communists, socialists, anarchists, call them what you like. They just chose a name to feel special. Senseless sentimentality.
Миленько. Это вы применили против них артиллерию?
Sadly, no. It was the foreigners who brought them to their knees.
Интервенция.
We fought valiantly. Too valiantly. So
Вальтли.
valiantly we got licked. Should have fought dirty, like they did with their suicide sex cult propaganda and mad anarchist women strapped to shrapnel bombs.
Что?
And so, and we lacked caliber. God bless him, but the suzerain's cannons simply weren't big enough.
It was probably a bit more complicated than that.
Но зачем вы держите их здесь, в Мартинисе?
Because this place is a damn beachhead. Had to soften the commies up first.
Плацдарм?
Yes, the military coordinated amphibious landing to take back Revachol. Martinez was used as one of the 3 footholds in Revachol during Operation Deathblow in 08. The other 2 are off in Stella Maris and the Delta.
Смертельный удар звучит мрачно.
This here is Blood Ground, where coalition boots first made landfall and cleaned those rabid dogs out. Most likely, we're playing pétanque on their mangled corpses.
Blood ground. You got old René going there. Like he isn't hungry enough already.
Коалиция.
Don't get me wrong, officer. I hate those foreign dogs, but the enemy of my enemy and all that. They're the lesser evil.
Поэтому тут все разбомбили.
Damn right, son. They lit the fire of hell on the city before they stormed it. And it worked, too.
Окей, окей.
The rest of the city got cleaned up, but Martinez they keep as a monument. And now the Union Socialists are practically running the place.
Well, it's your own damn fault. You, we, the coalition, Revachol, whoever you want to blame, never finished the job. Officially, the party never surrendered.
You don't even begin to truly understand the players at the table, let alone the specific circumstances surrounding the... What do you think?
Thinking men have opinions on these things. Present one.
Так. Окей. Мягкотелые социалисты прокладывают путь для крепкого рабочего класса.
Preposterous! Surely you don't mean it. I'm
Приятно.
just sorry it had to be them. After 8 years of fighting those commie hyenas, boiling cats for food and drinking my piss in the mountains,
А!
I would have preferred if the Right Honorable King Guillaume returned through Revachol, or even if that damn clan Frisel had risen from the grave and led us. Sadly, that was not the case.
This royal failure weighs heavily on him.
Instead, all that is just, holy, and beautiful in the world was wiped away, and now it's neon signs with toothpaste ads everywhere. Foreign influence peddling garbage and stupid music on the radio.
Это очень отсылка классная. Ну, потому что, с одной стороны, он рассказывает про социалистов, а с другой стороны, это галлийская пропаганда. Это прикольно. То есть я не знаю, откуда эти ребята, которые делали игру, но тот, кто автор текстов и вот этой вселенной, просто великолепно знает европейскую историю. Великолепно просто, то есть слов нет. Понятно, что тролл над троллинг и над капитализмом, и над коммунизмом, и над всем подряд. Но знания есть очень серьезные. Потому что это, вот то, что говорит этот пожилой человек с страшным французским акцентом, это галлийская пропаганда. Это очень прикольно.
This is just what the commies wanted. This was their plan all along. This is what they wanted to replace the role of the suzerain with.
Кто был этот Фрисель?
Damn Frisel. He was the king we couldn't protect. The Carabineers failed him, and the crown. He died in the hands of the Hyperlay, in a very public execution.
Ты говорил о Гийоме?
A true king in both blood and mind led Revachol before Frisel. He would have been better, but the damn commies drove him into exile.
Some manner of self-deceit is present in his thinking. Sounds like this Guillaume abandoned him, and he doesn't want to admit it.
Класс. Кто такой этот сюзерен? Ну, такая реалистская галлийская. Прикольно, блин, интересно сделано. Перемешано все, но прикольно сделано. То есть просто некоторые фразы вырываешь и понимаешь, что так, вот это галлизм, вот это реалистская пропаганда времен Орлеанского дома. Вот это очень прикольно, да.
The suzerain is the king. Has everyone forgotten already? They've forgotten already. It's no use talking to you. You were still in Daddy's balls when it happened. When we took our last stand against the filth and rode the cavalry straight into gunfire.
All you observe is a veteran refusing.
This is the uniform of the Royal Carabineers in service of Frisel I, Guillaume le Lion, and the valiant King Philip V before him.
Да.
Don't you mean Frisel the Fan?
Фрисель
You do
смехотворный.
not speak his name, Craven, although he was a clown. But he was our clown, Ours to ridicule and to mourn.
There's something you missed. You will get to it. Don't worry.
Потратить очки навыков на самообладание. Знаешь что-нибудь о повешенном?
Unfortunately, I don't. Unlike most of the locals, I have no qualms about assisting law enforcement. But this affair has passed me by completely.
А что такое с большинством местных?
In Martinez, the union is the law. So can you really blame them?
А у тебя нет проблем с копами?
Cop is a pejorative term. I don't have a problem with policemen. On the contrary, I admire the effort to bring order to our streets.
You are bewitched. Извините. А что? Зашло. Да, нет, нормально. Тут потихонечку раскрывается. В целом, опять же, то есть это не тот жанр, который я прям кайфую, потому что вот, несмотря на все мое раздражение и бешенство, Expedition Rim, наверное, вот это та вещь, которая мне нравится больше всего, когда я теряю вообще счет времени нафиг. Но я ценю, что это сделано очень интересно, тексты очень интересные, и то есть это сделано прям, ну, хорошо сделано, великолепно, я бы сказал.
He doesn't know about the crime. Your time is better spent discussing politics.
А что насчет сотрудниц?
I'm confident they are indispensable in regard to all the paperwork and other administrative duties.
Так. Говорю же о том, что они держат в чистоте участок и радуют взгляд мужчин.
No man can afford to turn his eyes to the horizon if his rear isn't secured. If the women folk take care of that, then men can tackle the bigger issues.
Хорош! Да, великие умы мыслят одинаково, родной, мы с тобой все понимаем.
The RCM doesn't discriminate.
О,
Women are held to the same standards as men, and as reflected in the quarterly statistics, are equally effective in their jobs.
азиат все испортил.
Unlike men, they also have to deal with the very same mentality you two are displaying right now. If it weren't for this, they would outperform us.
Кукол.
I'm glad at least some people keep a level head in these turbulent times.
Пойдем. Прикольно. Так, сейчас. Да подожди ты. Что такое? А там что? А там я уже был вроде. И чё? А. Так. Перекидал цвета сраной чайки. Не сраные, а срущие. Ты не путай. Крипти зашел, это самый Кандлмас. Я что-то недавно увидел их, что-то обалдел же. Я же что-то такое видел. Вот, мне клип прям зашел. Ну, музыка сама их классная. Вот. Мне прям понравилось. С другой стороны, этот самый, это люди, в честь первого их альбома назвали Doom Metal. Потому что их первый альбом назывался, внимание, Epicus Dumicus Metallicus. Это угар. Это просто угар. Приезжайте. Мне очень нравится, как какой там всратый монтаж. Он настолько, то есть настолько на коленке, то есть когда там говорится там типа Before my eyes, и крупный план на эту пухленькую морду, огромные глаза такие. Настолько там всратый монтаж, прям сил нет, это же обалденно. Но я уже говорил, что Швеция, с одной стороны, мне не очень нравятся шведы, в смысле, не знаю, не менталитета даже, а насколько они самодовольные националисты и насколько они жадные уроды, шведы. Ну, к сожалению, шведы очень скупые люди, скажем так, и очень самодовольные. Ну, так сложилось. С другой стороны, уникальный момент, что в Швеции и раньше, то есть, считай, со второй половины 20 века, и сейчас, наверное, музыка просто потрясающая. Там огромное количество совершенно непонятно каким образом появившихся уникальных музыкантов. То есть одна из моих любимых сейчас таких поп-групп — это Dead Soul. Очень хорошие ребята делают вещи. При этом там и рок есть, и металл. То есть попса и тяжелая музыка у них прям офигенные. Есть еще певица Лики Ли, то есть там, блин, там что-то музыкантов как-то на квадратный сантиметр пространства, если учесть, что там сколько шведов всего, там миллионов 6-7. Откуда у них столько музыкантов, я не знаю. Ну, прям круто.
You see rows of toy soldiers guarding the rest of the trinkets displayed on the table. Some on horseback, others in rags, others yet in bright blue uniforms. All are stern.
Не, из Скандинавии вообще очень много хороших групп, но вот из Швеции просто какая-то аномалия. То есть шведские группы именно по качеству исполнения и по разнообразию что-то невероятное. Собственно, одна из моих любимых групп глэм-рока — это Ханой Рокс. Это тоже шведы. Или финны. Нет, блин, Ханой Рокс финны, по-моему. Да, Ханой Рокс финны. Ладно, хрен с ним. Так.
Try to find something pretty and cool here, then use it to win her back.
Так. Завоевать ее сердце.
Yes. Buy something nice. A figurine.
Техника.
Everything you pick out seems faded, chipped, and sad somehow. Most of them are just broken toys.
Ну. Так, подожди-ка. Потратить очки. Это что за ревашор? Гийом Лебьон. Пилотское приветствие. Господи. Охренеть. Где я тратить очки? Так, сейчас.
The worn map features the patchwork grid of the streets of Martinaise, with directions to appropriately touristy locations. Year 48 resides on the upper right corner.
Кстати, я заказал на Good Game и на Twitch кучу смайлов. Вот.
Your finger moves through the various
Так что скоро будет полный набор
across
смайлов.
Rue de Songs
На Good Game и на Twitch.
and Rue Saint-Sipar, over Saint-Brun and Martinaise North. Finally, coming to a halt on the spot where you are currently standing, although the map gives no such indication itself.
For a more detailed view of the map, go to your journal and select the map tab.
Journal, select map down. You are bewitched. Oh. Ладно.
A typical Martinaise streetlight sits among assorted floor and table lamps.
Так. Мартиновский уличный фонарь. Это что, уличный фонарь?
Yes, officer. As you see, it's in perfect working order.
Где ты его взял?
It was brought to me to be altered.
We are not here to investigate the theft of city property. You have to admit it's rather clever what he's done with it.
Сколько за уличный фонарь?
700 real. A bargain, I dare say.
Даже учитывая то, что тащить с улицы фонарь рискованно, цена все равно крутовато.
There's also the matter of rewiring. But the most important transformation is the light's placement among ordinary indoor fixtures, which has adjusted its morphological field. The light became suitable for use inside the home just a few days ago.
Сейчас, одну секунду. У меня была мысль. Сейчас, секунду. Это буквально секунду. Сейчас. You are bewitched. Ту-ту-ту-ту-ту. Всё. Да это я так. О боже, что? Опять начинает глюки с алертами какие-то у меня. Ну ладно. Так. Это что?
The boomboxes on the shelf look well loved and well traveled. Chipped, dented, they stare at you with the unblinking eyes of their tape reels.
Я до фотошопа до сих пор добраться не могу нормально. Да я до много еще. Я никак не закончу с книжным форматом. И никак не закончу рыбу, блин. Точнее, следующую итерацию рыбы. Мне просто руки не доходят. Какой-то кошмар просто. Но я думаю, что сейчас на следующей неделе этим займусь. Потому что сейчас понедельник у меня днюха. Там разберемся. Как-нибудь раскидаюсь. Потому что я сейчас только пришел в себя, чтобы нормально стримить. Так что нормально. Мозг начал работать, кстати. Очень странное ощущение. Прикольно. Очень странно, на самом деле, когда восстанавливается от коронавируса, то есть мало того, что слабость, еще и мозг не хочет работать. И когда он начинает нормально, более-менее функционировать, ты такой, ух ты, а что, я думать умею? Ух ты, ядрёт, обалдеть. А что, так раньше было? Ух ты. Не болейте, ребят, отвратительно.
Just make sure it works before you buy it.
Может, это пригодится в полицейской работе.
If police work means playing tapes, sure. You can use it for that. Or any other time you'd need to play a tape.
Это магнитофон для стерео 8.
Harman Welshie W2.
15. Окей.
Made in Vespa. Designed in Seoul. Plays all reel-to-reel formats. 2mm, 8mm, 12mm. It's even got a little radio in there.
Так.
It's not often that I see officers from the RCM in my pawn shop. What can I do for you?
His courtesy is not insincere, but he prefers being alone with his projector, just watching the movement of light across the walls of the shop.
Полиции в этих районах хватает критически, это настоящий позор.
I haven't had any problems myself.
Ну
Though
да.
some of my customers have complained about inconsistent law enforcement.
Who are your customers usually?
All kinds of people come through here. Locals, travelers, people looking for a deal, people looking for a keepsake, people who are terminally bored. As you can see, I have a wide selection of goods for everyone to choose from.
Да, достойная коллекция.
It keeps me entertained.
Что торчит среда-то на чем? Что торчит?
Okay, he definitely is high. Looking at his wares, talking to him, a guarded man like him wouldn't tell you if you asked out loud.
Полицейские.
Someone else came here earlier today asking the same question. I promptly sold her the gun you pawned.
Oh, fuck.
This is a pawn shop, and it did feel as if you've met before. Oh God. The lieutenant shifts from one foot to another, alert.
Я заложил свой пистолет.
You were adamant about getting rid of it, officer. Said you were undeserving of a service weapon of the Revachol Citizens Militia.
Хорош.
And I don't like keeping guns around the shop for long. Off the charts photon emissions. The unhealthy kind.
He's not telling you the whole story. It seems he's trying to spare you.
Ты что-то не договариваешь.
You weren't quiet yourself, officer.
И что со мной было?
You were very distraught. You said the gun was a threat to your life and that you can't trust yourself with it tonight. And that you need the money.
Хорош. Хорош же.
When I said that I don't normally buy firearms, you put the gun barrel in your mouth and sort of sucked on it. Then I agreed to take it.
И за сколько я его продал?
15 real.
The lieutenant looks from you to Roy, and then back to you. It's clear that he hopes this tableau might still turn out to be a bad dream. It's
О,
not, though. This has got to be the most. Wow.
вау.
There's pity there too, in case you didn't notice.
Что ж, такое случается даже с лучшими из нас.
It certainly does, especially in Revachol.
Покупательница тоже была из полиции?
She didn't seem like a policeman, although she kept referring to herself as a pig, which was odd. I found her interest in the gun a bit obsessive, but I was just happy to get rid of it, and of her. Truth be told, she was terrifying.
Right, so let me get this right. You sold your sidearm, issued by the Citizens Militia, and now a civilian is running around the streets of Martinez with it?
Miraculously, his face does not reveal what's happening inside.
Третье. Мне тоже это не нравится, а вдруг она свалит все на гражданскую
You're
милицию.
right that she could cast aspersions on the force. We have to find her.
Не знаешь, где я могу ее найти?
My apologies, officer, but I have no idea where she was coming from or where she went.
A needle in a haystack. There is nothing you can do about it now. You'll just have to hope you luck upon her somehow.
Of course.
Так, расследование.
I doubt it, but I can try and answer any questions you may have.
Окей, так, ладно, тебе что-то известно о недавнем повешении?
I do my best to keep my distance from all manner of butchery.
Он похож на
Bad for
Снупдога, я вдруг
business,
понял.
Bad for everyone.
He doesn't know anything.
Можешь снять труп с
The
дерева?
corpse behind the hostel, I assume. I don't have a truck with a mounted platform or anything of that sort myself. Ask around the harbour. There might be some workers there who'd be willing to help.
The pawnbroker's gaze is already fixed on the Don.
Ладно. Забавненько. Порт на севере, по-моему. You are bewitched. Дин, 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 дин. Так, отлично. Перчатки без пальцев. Ладно, запомним.
A couple of indicator lights are missing from this control panel. Loose wires dangle from the now vacant holes. In the middle is a lever. Beneath it, a small metal plaque. This panel usually closes the water lock, turning it into a bridge that lets you cross the canal. But there's a crashed salmon and butter sign in the way. Pulling the lever probably won't do anything.
Давай.
Pull the lever all the way up until the metal clicks against the contact pins. You hear a soft clunk. Then, nothing happens.
Поднажать сильнее.
Nothing happens. A cold gust of wind blowing in from the sea interrupts the silence of the situation. The spring brings the lever back to its original position. You still need to close the water lock to get across the canal. Some other way. Wasn't there a sign over there saying functionality will be restored on Wednesday morning?
G'day to you, officers.
A burly man hangs out by the waterlock, carving up a generous serving of salami with an old hunter's knife. His eyes are fixed on a man stranded on the other side of the waterlock and on an enormous billboard that has fallen down into the canal between them.
Ты знаешь, как это произошло?
I wasn't here to witness it, but those look like tire tracks on that sign. Weird, huh? Then again, plenty of daredevil drivers in Rivershoal.
The words Daredevil Driver sound ominous to you.
Too bad it also takes a year and a day to repair anything around here, especially a waterlock. The rest of the coast is closed off till then.
Да. А что это за рычаг, который ничего не делает?
It's supposed to operate the waterlock, but as noted, it's all junk right now. Disabled because of the blockage.
А чего отключили?
Safety measure. Turns out the panel needs a special key to be reactivated. Wouldn't want anyone moving the waterlock with debris still in the channel. It'll be restarted on Wednesday morning. You want to do the honors when the time comes? Great!
Кажусь.
Just drop in on Wednesday if you want to see the waterlock at work. They say the canal crew will be here at 7:15.
The coast part of the map is inaccessible until the third day.
Не поделишься солями?
Sure thing. Want some too, officer?
Why not?
Окей. Знаешь, что там дальше по берегу?
Well, there's the fishing village, an abandoned fish market, a bizarro church. Not much use to the congregation, though. There always seems to be something wrong with it.
Я знаю, что там. Там мастер над супермутантами. И тут один худой, один толстый. Два худых не решат проблему, два толстых не влезут в машину. Ха-ха!
Yeah, not really much else. Just bombed out ruins.
Ой, до свидания. Такс. You are bewitched. Ха, маслом вниз. Юмор. Так. Что-то у нас хорошо вообще есть вокруг еще. Я бегаю с пакетиком. Я модный.
There are clothes inside. Cheap second-hand clothes, smelling of strangers' body odors.
Don't be shy. These are premium class clothes. Good quality fabrics, best retro design. Save the economy with your style, officer.
Ей! Это, знаете, я недавно... Мужиков. А ты Регбер. Понимаешь, я в этой игре бомжекоп, а в другой игре я легат. А ты так и останешься Регбером. Хотел сказать, что насчет ретро-дизайна недавно увидел рекламу продажи экологичной сумки за что-то 1500 рублей. Знаете, что продавалось? Авоська.
Save the economy? That sounds off.
Спасать экономику о чем ты? Привет, Паскаль.
Haven't you heard, officer? We've got to be economically conscious. Recycle your cash, keep it in circulation. Don't buy new things. Buy eco.
Так. Почему экономику нужно спасать?
Look around, officer. You see all these premium goods just sitting there, not getting bought? We've got to keep the flow of goods moving. Is this really the economy we want to leave to our children?
Могучие экономики растут, слабые вымирают.
Too bad, officer. Kids make it all
Ой,
worthwhile.
кто ответил?
Without kids, who's going to be around to enjoy the economy? Don't let me stop you. Open the box and browse a little.
У меня есть отличная старая авоська, советская, неубиваемая совершенно, из частично нитей хлопка и нейлона. Советского нейлона, суровый советский нейлон. В ней можно хоть арбуз таскать, хоть что. В ней можно танк перевести, ничего не будет. Это я не говорил, это у меня в ванной, у меня та самая прабабушка работала на гидропроекте. Там использовался, на гидропроекте, значит, строили канал имени Москвы. На строительстве использовался экспериментальный советский нейлон. Не немецкий, ничего, а советский нейлон. И использовался он там десятками метров, то есть там это сложная структура. И она попросила рабочих из обрезков нейлона, которые не нужны, сделать ей небольшие отрезки по несколько метров. Для того, чтобы повесить в ванной в качестве веревок для сушки белья. Она, значит, ей сделали, она взяла этот нейлон, поставила в ванной. Прошло уже 80 лет. 80 лет. Да. Она этот нейлон применяла на старый, там вот, где они жили, старая коммуналка. Она привезла его сюда, он здесь висит уже, считайте, с 47-го года. Ему ничего не бывает. В случае перегруза вырывает гвоздь из стены, но нейлону вообще пофиг. Вообще по барабану. То есть на этом нейлоне можно повесить одеяло, причем самое потрясающее, то что вот тот, который в ванной, он совершенно уникальный. Он не прогибается с годами. Я не знаю, как из чего он сделан. То есть это нейлон, я точно знаю, что это нейлоновая веревка, советская экспериментальная нейлоновая веревка, сделана для строительства. На ней можно повесить тяжелое одеяло, оно немножко прогнется, когда ты снимешь, спустя несколько часов он снова выпрямится. Я хрен знает. Абсолютно неубиваемая хрень. Если лопату делать из титана, тоже круто выйдет. Не, я понимаю, но просто с чего вот эта веревка сделана, я не понимаю. То есть к вопросу о отвратительном качестве. Вот 80 лет висит, вообще пофиг. Так.
Haven't you heard, officer? Look around, officer. Is this really
Сейчас.
the economy? we
Закон
want?
природы.
I can't go extinct, officer.
Ладно, посмотри содержимое коробки.
Find your hands deep in tattered and faded garments made from weird polyester blends that make your body itch and sweat in all
То есть,
the wrong
реально
places.
возникает вопрос, из чего эта хрень сделана, знаешь. Это вот как это, помнишь, это мем был несколько лет 10 назад, когда две фотографии японского города, по-моему, в районе Нагасаки или что-то такое, ну, я не помню, короче, где. Короче, первая фотография, атомная бомбардировка или там тяжелая бомбардировка, полностью уничтоженный город, и посреди стоят вот эти вот японские ритуальные ворота. Спустя там 70 лет цунами, полностью снесенный город, и посреди стоят эти долбаные ворота. Те же самые, эти же. Вот, и подпись внизу. Из чего они сделаны? Вот типа того, знаешь. То есть 80 лет висит веревка, вообще с ней ничего не происходит. Вот фу, конечно. Вот, но тем не менее, это все. Из чего ее делали? Из чего просто? Потому что если учесть, что она сделана вот в... Когда там она строила? В 35-м?
Economical, but also trendy. Look first hand, buy second hand. Keep the economy moving.
Так, поискать что-то ценное в куче тряпок.
No good.
Ты
You
содрала.
can come up with us some treated wool pants. You can tell they're too tight around your thighs and too loose around the waist.
Коснуться.
They itch like hell. Like an itch pit in hell.
All natural materials, see? Real wool, 100% skin friendly, and they're yours for only 2 real.
А, давай купим.
You won't regret it, officer.
Сумрак. А продавать тут нельзя, что ли? Понять не могу.
You see two lowly, defeated speakers, thralls, slaves basically, perched atop them like conquerors surveying the land. A pair of found, durable wear sneakers, ultra serious.
Ну, я тебе говорю, чем больше времени проходит, то есть это вот шутки шутками, но чем больше времени проходит, тем страннее ощущается, когда напарываешься... Извините, сейчас жидкость поменяю. Чем страннее ощущается, когда напарываешься на какие-то такие вот, там, типа, старые советские здания, или напарываешься на какое-то производство советское, смотришь на это, думаешь, господи, это знаешь, как это вот была шуточка, не шуточка, а фраза, господи, боже мой, как его, Лимонова, что Советский Союз — это наш русский Древний Рим. И вот проходит время, и ты такой, блин, ну вот реально ты смотришь на это, как на остатки какой-то древней цивилизации, которая была, ну, где-то на голову выше, чем мы. Там было что-то очень крутое, что-то невероятное. Мы только в телефончике можем, а? Да, то есть что-то какая-то древняя цивилизация какая-то, которая покинула нашу землю. То есть, что? Особенно это впечатление появляется, когда приходишь на какие-нибудь руины какого-нибудь ДК. Причем ДК какое-нибудь такое абсолютно проходное, но построено где-нибудь там в 52-м году или 53-м году, вот что-то в этом стиле. Приходишь, а там совершенно безумная кладка, огромные залы, убитые, все, уже ничего нет. Статуи, причем статуи вот, ну, такой вот, в древнегреческом стиле. Вот, то есть вот что-то, какой-то, ты видишь остатки какой-то там позолоты, какие-то там невероятные, не знаю, там окна, в каких-то вот полуубитые окна, но при этом вот в витраже все, мозаики на стенах, на это смотришь, думаешь, ядрёт. А что, так можно было строить? Это как, знаешь, я не фотки видел, знакомые. В свое время работал в Донецке еще до войны. Работал в Донецке инженером на добыче угля. И он мне показывал видео, как он заходит на работу, и там все убитое, все черное. Ну, то есть там грязи много, все убитое, все ржавое, но при этом, он говорит, самое потрясающее впечатление вот здесь. Он показывает отдельная комната для тех, кто поднимается из шахты, комната отдыха для рабочих, то есть для горняков из шахт. То есть они поднимаются и попадают в комнату отдыха, где там вот тут душевая была, а душевой уже нет. Душевая не работает. Остались только раковины. Вот, там еще что-то. И комната отдыха для тех, кто только что вышел со смены. Это зал размером, ну, метров квадратных, это 60-70. Вот, если не 100. Ну, по-моему, все-таки метров 70, может быть, побольше чуть-чуть. Вот, в котором половина стен обшарпана, но при этом там, знаешь, вот как вот стена обшарпана, но кусок чего-то остался. И этот кусок местные как-то вот сохраняют. Вот реально, как итальянские крестьяне во времена Средневековья сохраняли что-то из Древнего Рима, потому что красиво. И там обшарпанная стена, и посреди огромный кусок мозаики, часть огромной картины, где нарисовано море, купающиеся граждане, счастливые лица. То есть вот кусок, и посреди черная, абсолютно серая такой бетонная стена. То есть вот посреди вот этого кошмара. Вот, и при этом это огромный зал, и при этом еще остались плитка на полу, и часть плитки на полу мраморная. Комната отдыха для закончившей смены, понимаешь? То есть вот элементарная вещь, казалось бы, но тем не менее. Выложен мозаика дедушка Ленин. Да. Вот в этом все стиле. То есть это... Смотришь на это, думаешь, мама дорогая. Это вот это называется, вот как это сказать, вот так получается, когда отчуждается часть так сказать, произведенного труда отчуждается, во-первых, в меньшем объеме, а во-вторых, на общественное благо, а не на личное. Тогда вот получаются комнаты отдыха в мозаике с мраморными полами, горячий душ, ДК с этими самыми, с греческими статуями. Ну, собственно, я когда на дачу еду на электричке, я, кажется, еще раз говорил, я проезжаю как раз участок, где инженером участка была моя бабушка, прабабушка. Шлюз. Канал имени Москвы между Тушинской и... Короче, забейте. Короче, перед Тушинским полем как раз шлюз. И там шлюз, это шлюз. Шлюз исполнен в стиле классицизма со статуями гребцов, моряков и девушек рабочих. Это просто шлюз. То есть там вот шлюз, а на нем еще дополнительные конструкции в классическом стиле. Потрясающая штука. Или моя любимая в районе Новослободской, вот, ну не на Слободской, там поворот, сейчас там третье кольцо. То есть вы ходите к Сайловскому вокзалу, поворачиваете... Нет, подождите, это не там, сейчас... Нет, не здесь. Короче, ладно, забыл где. Погуглите, называется башня Татлина. Ее проектировал Татлин, инженер Татлин. Потрясающая штука. Причем издалека видно, как там заворачивается башня. Там стоят опять вот эти вот статуи. Там вот все выверено по золотому сечению. Там... Так. Идти в управление, там витраж из стекла. Ну да. Все это безумно красиво и безумно круто. Что-то я загрустил. Ладно, так.
I can see you with taste for luxury, officer. Can't keep your eyes off those sneakers?
Нет, вот это конкретно строили мы. Смотрите кроссовки.
A pair of Faun Ultras. The design is impossibly sleek and simple. A futuristic silhouette with a sleek monochrome colorway, a jet black upper and a silver-lined midsole.
Потому что, знаешь, это мне как-то говорили, да, что все советские вот эти дома строили американцы. Я говорю, а что они у себя дома так не строили тогда?
Those sneakers are the latest Faun sneakers. Super.
50 реалов.
That's madness. Faun Ultra. We're the future.
Смотри
You
колонки.
remember the slogan. These once respectable speakers have been conquered, reduced to a mere prop by the indomitable Faun Ultras. Atop.
No, don't look at the speakers, officer. Look at the sneakers. The sneakers.
А с колонками что не так? Пленные немцы. Не, ну вот мой дом строили пленные немцы, чего, вопросов нет. С другой стороны, как бы, проект вообще-то нифига не немцы. Нет, просто насчет того, что строили пленные немцы, ну строили, а как вы хотели? То есть, знаете, называется, подождите, вы разрушили, вот давайте помогайте. Они что, это проектировали? Нет. Вот дом, вот я живу в доме, который, к сожалению, не знаю, или к счастью. Короче, хрен меня отсюда расселят, потому что мы признаны архитектурным памятником. Ой, вот, так, ну, да. Рабочими на стройке были пленные немцы. 47-й год. А что они хотели, интересное кино? Офицеры ХПБ. Так.
Trash. That sounds like they're from the Samoan People's Republic, produced under the dictatorship of the proletariat.
Я могу купить грустно униженные самарийские колонки?
No way, officer. These aren't for sale. They're bad speakers. Low-fi socialist junk.
Я поэтому и хочу их купить. Я думаю, что я сам некачественный социалистический хлам.
No, officer. You're a high-class policeman who accepts nothing less than the best. Lucky for you, I've got the best on sale.
Ну, так первое.
Well, if you want, but see, they are the pedestal for my sneakers. If I let go, if on the other hand, you wanted to buy the sneak...
Damn, so you have to buy the sneakers first.
Окей, уйти. Так, с этим разбирайся. Откуда деньги брать, я пока не понял, если честно.
There's a pile of cheap sunglasses.
You like sunglasses, officer?
These are all...
These are all first-rate sunglasses. Premium design, super material, very cool. UV resistant. These were definitely...
Я не буду перебрасывать то, что я проваливаю. Хрен с ним. Играется, как играется. третье.
No luck. All
Oh, that visor is perfect for you, officer. It definitely.
I hope not.
You don't like it? Sure, Square Joe. No problem.
Ладно, хрен с ним. Деньги экспроприировать. Ну, разве что. Ну, просто я правда не понимаю. Пойдем в доки, короче. О, женщина. Женщины можно пописать. О, там еще что-то, господи. Стой. Что тут среагировал? Что это было? Только что что-то было. Ты что за нафиг? Я вспомнил еще одну игрушку, которую хочу пройти. Горький 17. Белая майка. Да. Так.
An old monument stands in the middle of the traffic island, pointing toward the sea. It looks as if it's been reassembled piece by piece, secured and mounted in the air with the aid of numerous ropes and rods.
Это кто?
A silver plaque on the statue's pedestal reads, I am Philip III, the Squanderer, the greatest of the Philippian kings of Revachol, son of Philip II, the opulent, father of Philip IV, the insane.
Окей.
Even by the standards of the Philippian kings, old sumptuous Philip was known for his profligacy.
И это как?
Well, he blew through the whole national treasury, starting the decline of one of the penultimate century's greatest superpowers, the suzerain of Revachol. His own maladministration foreshadowed the fall of the monarchy. During the anti-centennial revolution, an end to his family line and the monarchy on the Insulindian Isola.
Как он умудрился?
Stories have it that he had his bedroom converted into a treasure chamber, where he stored unfathomable wealth. Krugerrands, bars of gold, ornate weaponry, armor, and various chalices. He called it the Sol Auron. It was obscene. There were whispers he slept on a huge pile of gold-dipped feathers, like some obese dragon.
The man certainly knew how to live.
Отвратительный фарс. Не видишь, что все скатилось.
But wait, you haven't even heard about his fabled cocaine addiction.
Что?
You see, old Philippe wasn't just good at squandering the national treasury on gold and ceremonial weaponry. He was also a prodigious snorter of nose candy.
Хоть он любил припудрить нос, жирный торчок, значит.
That's what the revolutionaries said 150 years later, right before they emptied out the royal mausoleum and dumped His Majesty's mortal remains in the Insulindian Bay.
И где сейчас он похоронен?
Beneath the cold waters of the Insulindian Bay, thrown there by the revolutionaries after they cleaned out the royal mausoleum.
Что случилось со статуей?
The original was blown apart by communards, then further damaged during the landing of the coalition's airships during the turn of the century revolution, when Martinez was leveled. Most historians think the coalition's hasty landing may have ultimately saved the statue. If the communards had more time, they would have reduced it up to even finer pieces.
Кто восстановил монумент?
Some years ago, a group of liberal, artistically inclined individuals, designers mostly, thought it would be ironic to restore the statue of the most wasteful ruler of Revachol in the poorest part of the city. The
Смешно.
statue is supposed to capture the moment it was blown apart, like an instant frozen in time. A rare butterfly trapped in amber, floating on a sea of shit.
Да, это прикольно.
People in Martinez tend to disagree, as do many prominent art critics and thought leaders with more nuanced social awareness than the young ironists.
Не знаю, мне эта тема, мне почему-то нравится, это смешно. Ну, смешно же.
Philip III, the squanderer, however, with his bronze face up in the air, doesn't seem concerned about what the hoi polloi think of him in death.
Okay.
Not that he ever did in life either. A silver plaque on the statue's...
Так, у меня левелапушка. Конечно, кое-что смешно смеемся. Да. Ну давай добью. Не знаю, правда, зачем. И потом придется все остальное делать. Так. Извините, что я так сейчас сохраняюсь, но игра у меня нестабильно работает, поэтому... Пока так. Деньги.
The small, wrinkled woman does not greet you. She nods along to something on her radio. A photograph is clutched in her hands, and there is a warm smile on her face. The photo, an ambrotype from the turn of the century, as golden as her smile. It's the warmth of a winter night's fire. Maybe she could give you comfort and shelter, some cigarettes and food money. Maybe she's your...
Бабуль?
Nothing. Her smile just keeps widening. Her
Я
hair
хотел
is
бы
grey,
задать несколько
like
вопросов.
lead. No response, wherever this woman is.
Щелкнуть.
She's just a distracted old woman. Better to leave her alone.
Че это?
Why? I just told you why.
Так. Ну беги, пожалуйста, не будь медленной жопой.
Welcome to Rivachol.
Почти расист. О, почему ты так обращаешься к моему напарнику?
Don't you welcome to Revachol me. My grandfather came here from a 3,000-year-old racist isolationist culture, while your ancestors came to this island a mere 300 years ago. Every school of thought and government has failed in the city, but I love it nonetheless. It belongs to me as much as it belongs to you.
Скажи ему.
It's men like you who keep Revachol divided, making it that much harder for everyone to climb out of this post-war limbo.
What he means is, fixation on the Revacholian nation makes it harder for Revachol to actually attain
Кто-нибудь покажите это
self-determination.
Зеленскому. Так, ладно. Ладно, пошел нахрен, первое.
Oh, come on, man. I just said welcome to Rivachol. It's a lorry driver thing.
I know exactly what you meant. You think my kind doesn't belong here, that I should watch myself and behave. But you see, I'm an officer of the RCM, It's actually my job to make sure you behave. I would advise you to remember that.
Silence. The air between them becomes tense. Your partner needs backup. Now's your moment to shine.
Без Бекки я с тобой.
You two make a cute couple. You know that?
The lieutenant exhales and resumes his regular calmness.
Что, с этим разобрались, теперь есть несколько вопросов.
Whatever you say, officers.
Кружку в мусоре нашел, твоя?
Oh man, that's great. Look at that guy go. Haven't seen anything that funny in a while.
Твоя, говорю?
God damn. Thanks for that, but no, it's not mine.
He doesn't live in Martinez.
Что перевозишь?
Oh, not much anymore. I'm here to pick up some cargo, but the dock workers are on strike, so it's a sit and wait on your ass situation.
А сколько это все уж длится-то?
The strike? Oh, they've been at it for a while. A month, 2 months maybe. But this here is just the last week or so.
А какой груз должен был забрать?
Apples.
Apples is exactly the kind of thing you'd say if you had something to hide.
Яблоки.
Yeah, apples. I take it you had other questions? It's about biological determinism, natural law, the sorting of the races.
Хорош. Внезапно. Биологический детерминизм. Хорош.
Not the most popular topic nowadays, with a coalition in charge, you know. You might want to change the topic. That is, bury your head under the sand like common sheep.
А, так ты просто расист, понятно.
I'm not just racist. Look, I've read books. Huh? The science of racial theory has all been proved, even if some people don't want to accept it.
Мило.
People who've studied these things say that you and me are superior by design. So, naturally, we Occidentals should be in charge. Obviously, you can see the merits in that.
Race is a simplistic means of social classification based on easily observed attributes, hunches, and pseudoscience.
Так. Да по тебе сразу видно, что ты выдающийся так. То есть ты просто смотришь, нет. Третье. Выдающийся образец расового превосходства.
Open your eyes. Haven't you noticed something different lately? An unfortunate downturn, maybe? Huh? When members of the superior race cease to believe in their innate superiority, they stop competing for resources.
Один раз давно это было, разговаривал с одним парнем, который был нацист. И он говорил о том, что белые самые крутые, один белый стоит 20 азиатов. Я ему предложил скататься. В Самарканд и выйти на улицу и сказать это погромче. А в чем проблема?
The problem? The damn kips are showing a real good game lately. Same with the mosquitoes. And the other introduced species too. They're on the precipice of cultural victory.
Cultural victory? What is this then?
Что такое культурная победа?
It's what the kips of Boogie Street are going for, right under our noses. And the others too, on the radio.
Он не, во-первых, конечно, он обиделся, во-вторых...
Motitoes or leader? No. Dominating culture is how they plan to win. They say so themselves.
Господи. Во-первых, откуда «с»? Хватит, ребята, ну русский язык. Ну почему «с»? Из Узбекистана. Больше ты не видел его... Блин, ну почему «с»-то? Мое страдание. Промолчать.
Also, you need to realize the dangers of mixing races. Who knows what might happen if people don't stay in their birthplace?
Я пример Mixing Races. Дальше что?
Sub-race with unknown characteristics leading to extra competition. That's why you've got to control the offspring.
Так, ну я такое не поддерживаю, пошел нахер.
Don't push your luck, runt. Looking for something odd? Come to...
Козел.
Yes?
Так. Сейчас. Ну, иди сюда. Я не могу понять... О! Теперь понятно, окей. Я не могу понять, где деньги брать, если честно. Вот вообще не врубаюсь. Максимально не врубаюсь. Мама мия. Окей.
The tear machine stands in the corner. A sign says, 1 bottle equals 10 cents.
Сдать.
Your bottles clunk into the machine, and the money appears with...
Фрите.
You see several packaged raincoats fill a
Oi.
low shelf beneath a display of croissants and juice bottles. The raincoats are transparent, except for the big Fritta slogan on the back.
What is what? It's a raincoat. If you want to buy one, then it's only 4 real.
Всего. У меня всего 4 рояла, подожди.
A small cabinet on the wall is filled with various medicine bottles, nasal sprays, and blister packs. They all bear the Saint Baptiste Pharmaceutics logo.
Окей.
Their logo is the bloodless rose, pure white, untouched by harm.
Мне очень нравится подбор слов, на самом деле. Бескровная роза — это обалденно.
Just ask me if you need anything from Saint Baptiste. We don't stock prescription meds, but we do have Nosafed, Duramine, Magnesium, and Hypnogamma.
Чего эти препараты?
I don't know. Let's see. Nosafed is a nasal spray. Duramine is a really good painkiller. Magnesium is a dietary supplement. Hypnogamma is... I don't really know what Hypnogamma is. I guess it makes you feel less shit. It's recommended to use after lots of partying,
Антиполицей?
studying, or exercising.
А поточнее?
No, sorry. I'm not like a doctor or anything.
Nosafed heals +1 health. Duramine heals +3 health.
Нормально.
Magnesium
3
heals
health, меня 2.
+1 morale. Hypnogamma heals +3 morale.
Хорошо. Кто такой Сан-Батист?
Saint Baptiste, you know, the pharmaceuticals company. Saint Baptiste Pharmaceuticals, the one that sells meds out of Saint Baptiste. That one. There.
She is right. Saint Baptiste, the company, derives its name from Saint Baptiste, the city. It's so named because that's what it is. A rare case where that really is the full etymological history. As far as almost anyone knows, at least.
Ладно, 7. Пока восстановление ХП не требуется. Так.
Welcome to Frit. Feel free to look around or something. Everything is out on the shelves.
What's that magazine she's reading?
Что такое
I
фрита?
don't know. Frit?
Почему... Что такое
A
фрита?
7 to 11 grocery store.
Почему в названии 3 буквы Т?
I think they think that the extra T makes it funkier. It doesn't.
The story goes that normal Fritta, with 2 T's, a men's workwear shop in Vredefort, was already taken. So when Fritta Retail Inc. grew into a multinational corporation, they had to add an extra letter to avoid trademark infringement.
Миленько. Что у тебя за журнал?
You mean this? This is Pop Stars. It's got, like, famous people in it. It's not for sale.
Looks like it also has something called Police de la Mode, featured on page 34. This speaks to you.
Что за полиция моды?
It's where they rate different outfits famous people wear. It's kind of funny. They're kind of mean. It's about who's the most stylish.
Так. Так, кто там сейчас number one? Кто-то вроде этого парня.
No, I don't think so.
We are not the fashion police. We're the real police.
Вопрос есть.
Okay. I'm not really supposed to be chatting to anyone, but...
Сказать что-то о той реальности, в которой мы находимся.
Reality? You mean, what reality? Economic reality, or...?
She is like a student unexpectedly called upon by a teacher. Can she answer the classroom question?
Давай экономически.
I don't really know anything. I mean, I'm 15.
Что насчет и
I
физической?
don't know. What about it?
Коалиция.
Our government? Or do you mean something else? Sorry, I...
Ладно. О трупе.
I don't really know anything. I mean, I know it's there, but I haven't seen it, so...
Знала покойного?
Not really.
Немного знала.
No. I didn't know him at all.
Давно? Ну, давно он там.
I don't know, really long.
То есть я прям чувствую, как ей не хочешь с нами разговаривать. Что, по-твоему, произошло?
I don't know.
No need to worry. It's just standard procedure for us to ask.
Okay.
Окей.
Uh-huh.
Ага, отлично.
A colorful display of cigarettes and alcohol bottles line the shop wall, inviting you closer. There, in that dark green glass, all in vain. The great flowing river of warmth, wine, alcohol, beer, alcohol, love.
Love. Просто
The
любоваться.
beauty, the truth, the poetry of it all.
I'm obliged to inform you that both alcohol and cigarettes damage your health. But I guess you already know that.
Особые препараты?
No, Frit only sells legal drugs, like the law says.
Подробнее.
The pale age vodka is special, I guess. It's stored in pale for a couple of years, which makes it super expensive and super strong.
Окей, что такое серость?
You know.
Окей, как прием отразится на моем
I
организме?
mean, I already said it'd hurt you. I don't know what else they do.
Substances give powerful bonuses to your main stats at the cost of damage to your health or morale. Cigarettes raise your intellect while damaging your health. Alcohol raises physique while damaging your morale. Use medication, like Nosafed and magnesium, to counteract the negative effects of substances. Note: consuming substances can have unforeseen consequences for you.
Окей. Так, я все-таки... О, не-не-не, подожди, я вот это возьму.
A small cabinet on the wall is
Назовь это
filled
один.
with very
Okay, here. I hope Saint
Ну, до кучи. Просто чтобы был. Ты-ты-ты-ты-ты. Так. Денег, конечно, ни хрена нет, но это нормально. Сейчас. Еще одно место еще посмотреть сейчас. Вот что это было сейчас? Ну, блин. Вот. Стой. Какой огонь. Я туда еще не пошел. О,
This is a wall on the side of an apartment building.
Фи.
Are you trying to sneak up on me? Come to slit my throat in my sleep?
Logic error. She is not sleeping right now.
Pig's come to take me out. Trying to snuff me out.
Ты сейчас спишь?
Don't get fucking clever with me, pig. You think you're so clever.
Милые дети. Дети просто прелесть. Сейчас поговорим, подожди. Ладно.
There must be another way into the building.
Ну-ка.
You see a young man on a balcony nursing a cigarette. His eyes have been following you for a while.
Not looking for any trouble, officer.
Ну окей, второе. Я не
I don't
доставлю.
want to be seen talking to the gendarmerie if that's okay. I just want to finish my cigarette.
Don't let him go. This could be your witness. The balcony has a great view of the whole thing.
Окей, надо очень с тобой
Is
поговорить.
it really that important?
Like a nervous cat, he keeps stealing looks at the neighboring windows.
All right, but make it quick. Once I finish this cigarette, I have to run.
Как тебя
My
звать?
name? My name is Martin Martinez.
That's definitely not his real name.
Да, серьезно,
No, of
чувак.
course not. Could you please lower your voice?
Щи.
Ask him again.
А ну-ка,
My name?
That's
No, of course.
Ask him again.
But
имя.
I really need to finish this cigarette.
But he hasn't left yet.
Окей, ладно, хрен с тобой. Похоже, тут открывается хороший вид на задний двор кафе. Можешь что-нибудь сказать о повешении?
I'd even go so far as to say that the view is a little too good, my dear gendarme. Do you have an estimate of when the body will be taken away?
We will remove the body as soon as possible. Now tell us, where were you last Sunday?
Oh. You already asked me that, didn't you?
Чё?
Wait, is someone else investigating the lynching?
Разве?
No, not you. Some more muscular type.
And when did you speak to this more muscular gentleman?
Last week? I don't know. Look,
It'll take more than rain to bring this place back to life.
You didn't answer the question. What were you doing last Sunday?
I had a friend over.
Чё за
It
друг?
was my Sunday friend.
Makes sense. Friends are nice on Sunday. You don't have to work. You can just spend time with pals, watching rugby and drinking beer.
Как зовут друга и что он увидел?
He doesn't reply, gesturing no with his cigarette. Under the dull and darkening sky, the neighboring windows stand silent.
No. We won't. Now, if you'll excuse me, I really need to get going.
Убить его остаться.
This isn't the place or time for questions. Who knows who might be watching from the distance, hidden behind the curtains?
Так, в другом месте, чувак.
For a moment, the man on the balcony seems almost vulnerable. Something moves in the depths of his feline eyes, compassion and a hint of understanding.
I am sorry, but I really don't have the information you're looking for.
But, hold on, what's that? For a split second, his hand lingers, as though gesturing towards a stone placed right next to the front door. It's a sign.
Good luck with the investigation.
Окей.
He's gone. No point in running. Tenements like these often have multiple exits. If he doesn't want to talk to us, then he'll know how to hide himself.
Ну,
He could be a witness. Him or his Sunday friend. Either way, we need to look into that muscular type who's asking about our case.
окей.
He did leave us a sign. Did you see that? He
Да.
wanted to draw our attention to if we find a way inside.
A stone, like any other, lying in a whirl of sleet and mud. Maybe there's something under it. There's a
Перевернуть.
key beneath it, rusty from the dirt.
This must be for the front door. Pity he doesn't have the apartment number on it. This
Как
we'll
это
just
найти
have to go
нужную?
in and see.
Поехали. Многоквартирный, многоквартирный. Так, извините. А чё за фигня? Плюс 1 к скорости реакции. Господи боже. Я прекрасен. Я, правда, не знаю, зачем я это делаю все. Логика +1, риторика -1. Ну пофиг. Концептуализация +1, внутренний империя, авторитет и внушение -1, полицейская волна ++++++. Эквилибристика аж -2. Ладно. Трех разных размеров. Опа. Денежки. Так. Охренеть.
This door has been closed with a padlock. A chalk-drawn number on the board says number 11.
Рассмотреть
It's a
замок.
solid lump of metal, but the shackle is deeply corroded. A solid pair of chain cutters would make short work of it. Better whip out those cutters. You won't get very far otherwise.
Постучать? Так, подожди.
No reply.
Болторез.
This door has been closed with a padlock. A chalk... What are you doing? You're trying to cut the body of the...
I believe it's the shackle you mean to cut, detective.
He's just trying to help. Don't take it bad. Relax.
Perhaps you should give it another go.
The shackle snaps like a twig,
Окей.
and the lock falls to the floor with a little thud. It should be possible to enter now.
After you, detective.
Так, сейчас я действительно попробую. Только что тут что-то было. Только что же он что-то хотел. Где ты? Пойдем зайдем действительно туда, посмотрим фонарик. Пока что-то не работает. Ладно. Если кто-то дернется, двинем ему по башке. Вот тут, тихо.
That isn't just a five-pointed star.
О,
It's an inverted white pentagram cradled in a wreath of antlers. The iconography of communism, in other words.
окей, внимательно смотреть символ.
The star and antlers was developed in the 6th decade of the last century and quickly adopted by Mazov, and the communards during the revolution. Even today, half a century after, the star and antlers retains the ability to evoke hope, disappointment, and fear in equal measure.
Почему звезда перевернута?
To symbolize the toppling of the old order. Also, some social democrats were already using it.
Что означает рога?
The wreath of antlers represents a natural crown. It was about building a society that could exist in accord with the natural world, and at the same time above it.
Почему цвет белый?
Because white is the color of peace. Gone is the glory of hope. Only the scribblings of impoverished students remain in dirty hallways. You are the big communism builder now. It's you or no one.
Взял, дух мне снес, козел. Девятимиллитровый патрон. Структуризация +1. Цейская волна. Ну, пока не нужно. Да игра обнаглела просто.
A plaster cast bust depicts a middle-aged man with impressive sideburns. The name on the plinth reads Kraz Mazov. Honestly, he does kind of look like you after all.
Да честь бюсту! Отец Мазов, герой рабочего класса!
Whoever lives here definitely shares your enthusiasm. There aren't many communists around, not after the revolution. Some youth still keep the ideology going, it seems.
А че это у него тут он стоит?
The White Star, the photos on the wall. I think we have broken into the apartment of a young communard. How fitting.
Ким, ты должен признать, этот Крас Мазов чертовски похож на меня.
Hold on a second. Is this why you broke in here? To find out whether you're Krasmazov?
Не-не-не, это лишь совпадение.
Sure it is.
Не видишь сходства?
Well, you both do seem to share an affinity for sideburns. But it seems like old Kras here didn't drink nearly as much as you.
Ну, ладно, у меня есть проблема с алкоголем, чего уж.
You do, but that's not the point. The point is, he doesn't look like you.
А это идеализировано.
Very well. Let's look for identifying features then. Doesn't he have a birthmark right here? What about you?
Не знаешь, не вижу лица.
Alright, but here's the big thing. Krasmazov looks Samaran, and you don't.
Да я и сам честь самариец.
Okay, you win. Be Krasmazov then. I don't care. Why are you so hell-bent on proving that you're Krasmazov anyway?
Ладно, коммунар.
Alright, Kras. You fought in the revolution and everything, if you say so.
Тролль. Чё за мысль? Так, 6-я града. Ствол разотрился. Я не понимаю, почему -1 риторика? Временный бонус за исследование. Я не понимаю некоторых вещей. Это временно? Ну ладно, усвоить.
A plaster car, honestly, he...
Через странно. Очень любит позировать с оружием. Когда прокачаешь, ладно.
You hear someone walking around inside, rearranging the furniture. The number on the panel says 10. The walking stops abruptly, but no one comes to the door. You can feel tension on the other side. A poor communard, from the looks of it. The room is barely bigger than a closet.
Откройте, полиция.
Do I have to open the door? Do you have a warrant? I'm not obligated to open the door if you don't have a warrant.
Let's go. We don't have a reason to get inside that apartment.
It's generally easier to do things if you have literally any reason. A poor communard, from the looks of it. The room is barely bigger.
Странно себя ощущаю.
Give me a moment.
Окей.
The cold never does any good for my bronchitis.
Вы в порядке, бабуль? Может, врача?
I'm fine. Fine. Don't you worry about me.
You're still worried. It's very worrying.
Now, what do you want from me, policeman?
She's the cleaning lady. She knows the floor plan and the residence.
Вы кто?
I'm no one. Just an old woman who cleans these hallways.
Вы здесь живете?
If you can call it living. I have a little room upstairs right next to the cold room.
Колорум. У вас тут уголь... Чё? У вас угольное потопление? Что за фигня?
It's barely bigger than a closet. But I don't complain, no. I have my bed and my aching bones to keep me company. And that's all I need from this world.
She hasn't spoken to anyone for a while. Even her sentences feel rusty.
Еще молодого человека лет 25, темные волосы, худощавый, курит на балконе.
Yes, yes. I know who you mean. The scrawny boy who's always smoking like the devil, right?
Somewhere in the building, a child starts crying. You hear a radio tuned to a talk show and someone taking a shower.
What's he in trouble for?
Да, просто хочу с ним поговорить.
Talk?
What was so funny about that?
He lives upstairs in room 28. Go to the balcony. It's one of those doors there. He's usually home in the evening.
Thank you. We should go check out his apartment on the balcony. See if he's home.
Пара вопросов.
Ask away, policeman.
Кто-то из жильцов уехал в отпуск, у него почтовый ящик забит.
People come and go. I don't keep an eye on everyone.
They probably just moved or died. Hopefully somewhere else.
Кто живет в 10-й квартире?
No one lives there. It's been empty for months.
Ну, я с кем-то говорил через дверь.
Impossible. I would know if someone had moved in there. Maybe it's those countercultural people again. Breaking into a house like it's a public space. You're a policeman. Be good and take a look, will you?
Окей.
Great. Young people. They're worse
Кто же
than
ждет за
rats.
дверью с
They're
вещим...
always littering the hallways with trinkets and empty beer cans.
За дверь с висящим замком кто живет?
Oh, that one is a scientist, a future scholar.
Скала!
I think he studies astrology at the community college.
Астрологию.
Education's good. I always tell them to study.
Астрологию?
Something to do with all those stars around his door.
Так это
He
символ
asked me to
коммунизма.
leave his drawings up on the wall. The symbol of what now?
Ну... Да, второе.
Huh. I thought Revachol was the capital.
Столица он
She
имел в виду.
mumbles some kind of a response.
Окей. Так. Отряд для расстрела богачей на недефак. Печатное решение Ассоциации риэлторов Мартинеса. Блин, все время камеру хочу посмотреть.
What happened here?
Банк не может опечатать квартиру, у которой дыра в
It
стене.
will still be accessible through the apartment next to it. That one didn't have a door. Sadly, nothing of great value remains here.
Наверняка найдется что-нибудь в холодильнике.
Indeed.
Нормально. Вернемся к 10-й квартире.
You hear someone walking around inside.
Excuse me? Of course not.
You have plenty of reason to enter.
Мне не нужен орден, если я подозреваю проникновение.
Oh, come on.
Well, that was easy.
That was smart.
Чё? Нет, ну не каждый день же. Черные туфли, которые не отображаются. Что за фигня? Они просто пустые? Странно как-то, ну ладно.
Satisfied? My name is Marielle Charpentier, and I'm an agent with Martinez Realty Associates. I am not breaking in, as I have every right to be here. The keys, see?
Her voice is really cheerful, despite her obviously hating you.
Do you want to see my ID as well? You can't legally ask for it, but why not? Want to see my residence permit too?
Да, давай посмотри паспорт.
It feels flimsy in hand, with the words Revachol Zone of Control written under a nondescript municipal logo. There's a picture of her with shorter hair inside, along with all her personal details.
Большие издания пишут, что игра не очень. Да там есть косяки и куча. Не знаю, игра отличная. Рим отличная игра, Expedition Rim великолепная игра, то есть там на самом деле серьезный косяк, чисто эргономический. Что ты не можешь с карты раздать приказание претарианцам разместиться в нужных тебе областях, палатках. Это бесит. Необходимость постоянно бегать туда-сюда раздражает. Ну и обратное, что ты не можешь пропустить время, находясь внутри лагеря. Вот два момента, которые чисто эргономически сделаны хреново. Все остальное отлично. Мини-карты, там нет мини-карты. Точнее... Да, ну... да, вот да. Но мини-карты, кстати, с учетом того, что области боя достаточно маленькие, они не особо заморачиваются, зато поиск предметов довольно забавно происходит. Ты вертишь камерой и пытаешься найти предмет вокруг. Вот. Но... Я бы сказал, что эргономически более... То есть два косяка по эргономике и все. Там особо не надо. Половина всего вызывается горячими клавишами, так что пофиг. Милая стрижка.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? I need to be back in Midtown in an hour.
Что вы здесь делаете?
I need to get it ready for the next lease, but as you can see, the previous tenant completely trashed the place.
Про храм? Про храм Аполлона? Но я тебе говорю, области достаточно небольшие, и это сделано, во-первых, потому что области небольшие, там нет смысла. А с другой стороны, это элемент поиска предметов. То есть ты бегаешь и сам ищешь предметы, подбирая правильный угол камеры. В этом отношении довольно забавно получается. Зато обыскиваешь все. Так. Похоже, он умел повеселиться.
It was some kind of a moribund old man who used to be a business owner. You'd think they'd make rent. That was months ago. Anyway, was there anything you wanted, or is that it? I'm
Кто
in a
жил в
hurry.
печатной квартире?
Oh, that's another huge mess. The former tenant owes us 3 months of rent. 3. We closed the apartment and planned on auctioning off the valuables, but...
Подсветилось... Дело в том, что из-за угла камеры подсветилось, да, словно, я такой по альту бегаю. Но ты можешь просто пропустить предмет. То есть ты натурально бегаешь и вертишь камерой, чтобы хотя бы увидеть подсвеченный предмет. Это не так просто все. И прикольно. Так.
And again, I have no idea how stupid mistakes like this can even happen. But Ron, when he came to close the door, didn't close the neighboring door. And there's a hole in the wall. A hole in the wall. Can you believe it? And then the tenant ran off with his stuff. He's gone. The money's
Phoenix.
gone. Just like that.
The sum must have been puny.
Вряд ли он задолжал ему какую-то серьезную сумму. Квартира выглядит так себе.
These apartments are perfectly fine. They have gorgeous architecture, a
Gorgeous.
million-real view of the bay, good ventilation, neighbors,
Привет.
life, spark, and they are affordable. I'll tell you, Martinez has a future. In a few years, it's going to blossom with artists and creatives and those radio computer wizards.
The radio computer wizards are invested with magical economic powers.
А со стеной-то что случилось?
Don't ask me what happened with the wall. I have no idea how we're going to find the time or resources to fix it. Both apartments are now unrentable. Both.
Значит, я говорю, что, ребят, значит, поскольку сегодня у меня опять расписание уехало из-за того, что там надо помочь 3D-клану, через час я закончу стрим, потом в 5 часов стрим поднимется, но тут будет Twitch Player 3D-клана, все равно ваш чат буду читать. Twitch Player 3D-клана я буду стримить Winters Age of Empires 4, то есть как раз самый крупный турнир по Age of Empires 4, там отборочные, вместе с Sub-Zero. И потом, после этого, я вернусь, и мы, наверное, что-нибудь посмотрим. Так, спасибо, уйти.
Of course.
Ну, тогда завтра тоже будет Disco Elysium. Утром, днем. Как проснусь. Чтобы побольше пройти.
Give me a moment.
Риэлторша там была.
I see. I hope some good people are finally going to move in. This place needs them.
Да-да, вот приедут радиокомпьютерные волшебники и спасут это место и нашу экономику.
Oh, I do like wizards. And people like that in general. They have a lot to tell us about our fates.
She means clairvoyance. Wow, you work hard.
Реально?
Oh, yes. You hustle. You're a provider. It's tough out there, but you keep it real and provide.
Серьезно?
Look at yourself. You're a human pedometer. You must have walked 200,000 steps down cracked asphalt, mosaic, sand, and linoleum after you re-emerged. That is the sign of a hustler who never gives up. The world is harsh and people are evil. You didn't make it that way, and you won't let it break you. You ride.
Окей. И буду.
That's just what it's like. Life and death. But you got gills on your side, baby. Got those black papers with the faces of the innocents on them. You bring in the Franco-Negros and the Solas.
Сдохнуть.
It ain't easy, but you do it. Day in and day out. You didn't make the rules, but you won't lose. You're a cop and a sprinter and a money printer.
Да-да, найти удалось кое-что.
Sure. And has it been easy? Is life easy? Have you not gone into cardiac arrest? Are you not about to have an anxiety attack or shoot yourself in the mouth? But you still hustle 24/7, ride or die. Now, ask yourself, are you rich?
Нет, вообще-то совсем нет.
That's right. You work harder than anyone. You almost rode yourself to the grave and you're still practically a hobo. Why is that?
Система порочна.
Boo-hoo. The system is broken. The establishment is keeping me down. That's not the fuck yeah attitude you're used to. What is this? Why are you so poor?
О, на рынке... Так, ладно. Сраные налоги. Ты не знаю, я
Because
отвали.
of the taxes,
А.
G-Man's got his jam-covered sticky fingers in your pocket, stealing from you every time you buy, sell, walk, talk, fart, so much as sneeze.
Окей.
Aren't taxes almost non-existent in the Gotham estate that is Revachol?
Я думал, у нас нет налогов.
You and I both, but they got those indirect modes of taxation. Sales tax, excise duty, extraction tax. This tax that doesn't even have a name. Plus, there's the stuff people in other countries pay for that makes them ask for more money from you here. The Gotham estate's a myth. In total, the coalition government is taking...
Я периодически думаю о том, кто авторы по политическим взглядам, и склоняюсь к тому, что анархисты какие-то. Смешно достаточно все. Нет, весело, весело. А может быть вообще никакие. Очень уж хороший текст. С другой стороны, у меня есть серьезное подозрение, что текст подставляется мне такой, исходя из того, какие я ответы даю. Есть такое серьезное подозрение. Ну ладно.
98% of all your money.
Да, хорошо, да.
Here you go, hustler. Fight the...
Так. Я, правда, не понимаю, что дают. Почему не пишут, что дает? Так, ладно, так. Это что такое? Балкони. Ну, собственно, если балкон... Что? Что? Ну что? Ну... Иди ты. Да понятно. Surprise, motherfucker. Что это заглючило?
Ruination has come. The broken arches betray the once grand history of this building. It towered over the harbor until it happened.
Попробуй догадаться, что произошло.
A great force from the northeast fired into the city. Heavy artillery shelled the coastline. Fired from the water. A straight shot into Revachol. The tenement acted as a defensive wall against the worst of the shelling until it was destroyed, and they had a direct firing line.
Хорош. Посмотреть на океан.
The waves of the Martinez Inlet roll over the fallen remains of the building. The dark waters obscure the better part of the remains.
Часть города под воду вообще ушла.
What didn't fall into the ocean was used as scrap. What wasn't used as scrap was thrown into the ocean.
Посмотреть на руины в воде.
Those arches acted as support for something greater than what you see now. Only 3 stories stand where 9 to 12 once did. Restoration has failed. What the shelling took out was never rebuilt.
Одного немецкого бородача. Кто за этим стоит, за этим повреждением? Нет, у ребят рассуждения очень интересные на самом деле. То есть текст составлен очень плотно и очень интересно. То есть интересно, что это R не выговариваю. Р. Синхрофазотрон. Кто за этим стоит, за этими повреждениями? Флот. Почему флит перевели к авиации? Five Nation Army. Отсылка.
They massed airships further down in the Bay of Revachol. The artillery was so powerful. The ships not only required gyroscopic stabilization, they were anchored into the ocean floor as well. Many are still there to this day. If you squint, you can just barely see the shadow on the water, far in the northeast. Cannon still ready to placate Rivershore.
Слушай, Ким, ты знаешь, кто так обстрелял наш город?
The coalition. But that was a long time ago. I think we should move on. It's chilly up here.
He does not like talking politics of this kind.
Так, не понял. А тут же было... Подождите, тут же было... What the fuck? Как так-то?
The streets will flow red once more, a great torrent rushing down Rue de Esperance. You wait and see.
The streets will not flow red with anything. Who are you?
I'm Cindy the fucking Skull. What else do you want to know? Date of birth, blood type, the last time I was tested for Hep C.
Хотите узнать, как вас зовут, юная леди? Не нужно принимать нас в штыки.
And here I was trying to be polite. Just can't win with you pigs.
Да, опять.
That smell coming from her paint bucket. It's not paint. It's heavy fuel oil.
Ты постоянно куда-то кочешься, что там?
The lieutenant furrows his brow at another one of your eccentricisms. Hatred, disgust. It's difficult to tell which of the two is more present in her girlish features. The woman on the boat does not notice her staring.
That is on her. Someone's got to keep an eye on her.
Ozon is an archipelago 2 days' travel away from Rivershore. Its moneyed residents, used to posh restaurants and upscale boutiques, rarely have reason to visit Martinez.
Probably the Wild Pines rep. We should talk to her. She's a professional negotiator, though. I have the feeling she will be very cooperative while telling us nothing. You should take the lead. Ask her unexpected questions, you know? Do your thing. Don't be afraid to get a bit wacky. Throwing her off is our best bet.
Good idea, piggies. Run along now. Fuck her shit up good. Impound that boat while you're at it. I'd like to watch her swim back to Ozon.
Миленько. Это что, мазут?
Red-dyed heavy fuel oil, intended for exclusive use in government vehicles, to be precise.
What did you think I was using? Aquarels? Sucked it out of a cop's fuel tank myself. Back in Jamrock.
She really did it. She's proud of it too.
Заявление настоящего художника.
You ain't seen nothing yet, piggy boo.
Что делаешь с этой стеной?
Can't you tell? I'm painting a beautiful mural, an aerial graffitio visible from low orbit.
Все такие добрые.
I haven't really started it yet. I'm waiting for the right words.
То есть ты не знаешь, что написать?
Have you ever tried your hand at graffitio? When faced with a blank wall, most people write unimaginative stuff, like pigs go home and Mona was here. We rarely see pigs round here, though. Just union cads. And my name's not Mona, so...
She wants it to be something true and total.
Почему ты так зациклен на том, чтобы осквернить это здание?
This place is severely lacking in havoc. Not even the occasional trash can fire to break up the tedium.
Окей.
I thought I'd mix it up, you know. Summon the forces of crime and social chaos with a wall-sized invitation.
Окей.
Yeah?
Мне нравится паблик-арт. Делай.
Thanks. I'm sure the inspiration will come to me now that I have an official RCM stamp of approval.
She means the opposite. You've lessened her desire to deface the building.
Окей, окей. Тебе что-нибудь известно о недавнем убийстве?
I ain't no snitch, Pigstein. Go forth and forage in someone else's shit. No shortage of squealers in these parts.
Actually, There is a shortage of people who talk to us in a normal, calm, informative manner.
We weren't put on this earth to make your life pleasant, fucko. Watch your back, ungulate. You've got eyes on you.
Ах. Как с ними сложно-то со всеми. Ну почему? Почему исчезла? Я думал, что можно болторезом вскрыть. Ну что за херня? Ну почему это происходит? Да иди ты. Да ну, несерьезно. О боже, где я? Котельная. Скорость реакции. Калибристика будет не такая низкая.
The pockets of these new jeans are perfect for sticking your hand into. Makes you look cool, calm, and collected. As your hand enters the pocket, your fingers brush against something, soft, yet crinkly. Hey, it's a chewing gum wrapper. It reminds you of the fruity juice of apricots. You should inspect it closer if you have time. So, by the way, the raw materials were most likely exported from Seaguy, the apricot suzerainty, and processed in sur-le-clay into the apricot-flavored chewing gum, loved by kids of today and yesterday. Something about it is familiar. And
Так, подожди-ка, предметы.
There it is again. The scent of apricots with a touch of cinnamon. Smells like the end of some distant summer. The surface of another planet. Or some ancient temple.
Ладно, сделать глубокий вдох.
Bitter, citrus, sweet. It seems to grow stronger, like a glow, with every breath you take. Whatever petrochemical byproducts they used to create this artificial flavor have bonded tightly to the wrapper. Or is that just your memory filling the gaps? Until a blossom of skin and flower petals erupts behind your closed eyes, made of toffee, cream, and distance. You just had to take a dive. Feels so familiar. Yes, from the height of antique, the sun set, there is a movement next to you. The shuffle of a small coat, warm like the evening. But when you turn toward it, there's nothing there.
Постой, вернись.
Why are you talking to a gum wrapper?
Ну и пожалуйста. Ой. Ну да. Так. Ага. Это что за фигня? Почему она синяя? О, 5 рублей так-то. Из 100, который мне нужно заплатить за гостиницу. Мне еще ствол найти. Где еще это? Как все сложно-то. Так, а туда пройти никак, да? Может быть, еще раз появится эта фигня? Рен там плавал. Еще и снег пошел. Ту-ту-ту-ту-ту. Но мало мне снега здесь. Так. Хожу с пакетиком. Господи. А это что? Внушение. Но сумрак -1. Так точно, капитан. Военно-морское пальто. А у меня куртка на полицейскую волну, по-моему. А давай. Хе-хе-хе, прикольно. Кран. Так. Баночка.
A striking woman leans against the cabin top of her sailing boat, smiling as you approach. Her green raincoat glistens with droplets.
Зато в пальто не
A
холодно.
silk scarf is tied around her throat.
Good evening, officers. I'm Joyce.
Да.
Joyce L. Messier. I represent the board of Wild Pines, the owners of the harbour. You gentlemen must be from the RCM.
Пожать руку. Так.
I'm glad to see you here. I was dispatched to handle a strike, not a lynching. Anything I can do to assist the RCM in this matter, I will, gladly.
That is good to hear, madame. My colleague will take the lead on this interview. I should let you know that he is recovering from an unusual medical episode.
Unusual.
Very unusual. But I can assure you of his ultimate competency.
Okay.
There's a trace of irony in his voice. Mischief, even. This is a tactic.
How interesting. I wish you a swift recovery. In the meanwhile, you have my full cooperation, and the full cooperation of the Wild Pines group.
It's hard to get a read on her precise disposition, but she appears helpful.
Что-нибудь знаете об этих татуировках?
That's the man who was killed. I'm afraid this is a discussion for once we've cleared the lynching question.
Почему?
Better not tie the forestay to the batstay on this. I hope there is something else I can help you with.
She wants to answer the question. Protocol keeps her from it.
Интересно. Похоже, вы богаты, дадите мне денег.
Is what you want to say, but it isn't that easy, is it?
А че это?
Look at that lady. Take a gander. Squint your eyes.
Какой дорогой материал.
Why, yes. Tucked away under that sturdy green raincoat, almost rustic in its simplicity, a silk shirt and matching scarf around her gentle throat, while dull orange pearls hang from her earlobes, red from the cold. Her light green eyes scan you, full of knowledge and worry, wealth and all its possibilities. These are the kind eyes of the rich man that seem to say everything is possible, within reason.
Так, и что?
Now look at you, you misery-clad simian, barely able to tie your own laces. Your armpits are lakes, a scythe of booze precedes you. Your hair sticks to your forehead and your underwear feels uncomfortable.
Миленько.
You're poor as balls. You can't ask this person for money. You're too...
Я работяга, труженик.
You think your little communism protects you from this feeling? No. The more demeaning it is to grovel at her feet.
As I was saying, if there's any way I may be of assistance, please don't hesitate to ask.
Черт, ну ладно, давай.
Voila, you're doing it.
Дайте мне денег.
Why, yes, I am rich. How much money do you need? Hopefully not too
Да.
much. I couldn't bring all of it with me.
She's surprisingly nonchalant about this. Could it be that she somehow knows more about your predicament? Let's
100 реалов.
It's a good sum. Not too small, not fantastically large.
She removes a few notes and hands them to you.
Ей!
It's cold and oily to the touch.
Что за бред?
Whoa, whoa! Did you see how easy that was? Ask her for more. Toot toot, train to Moneytown.
Больше просить не будем.
Can you eat honor? Are you an omnivore? Give me a break.
So, I hope I didn't just bribe you, officer. It may not be technically illegal under the Emergency Act, but still.
Да. Окей. Я честный.
You're right, man, that donations are permitted under the Emergency Act, unseemly as it may be, as long as they are properly logged with a precinct.
Which he most certainly will do. Now, how else can I help the RCM today?
Что вы
Besides
можете
supplementing
рассказать?
its salaries?
Что вы можете рассказать про самосуд?
Quite a few things, I'm afraid. The information I'm to share with you includes sensitive trade secrets. For the sake of my employer, I have to ask for your names and badge numbers.
Of course, ma'am. We should have introduced ourselves. I am Lieutenant Kitsuragi, from Precinct 57. And this is my colleague from Precinct 41. I'm afraid he doesn't have his badge at the moment. I hope mine will suffice.
How curious. Why is that, Detective?
Awkwardness washes over the conversation. The woman doesn't like this turn of events.
Помните, мой напарник говорил, что недавно у меня случился один необычный приступ, из-за него я потерял удостоверение.
I see. So, are you saying you lost your badge during the course of this episode?
Первое.
Oh dear. Some kind of encephalopathic amnesia. I don't even know how to respond. I do believe you, naive as that may sound. I simply can't imagine what you gain by faking such a condition.
As I said, ma'am, his technique may be very unconventional. But
Да, very unconventional.
Of course, I sympathize. But I'm afraid I simply can't share anything more until I've seen that badge.
Дрянь.
Hang on. She's a professional negotiator. She should be open to some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement.
Внушение.
She's a negotiator. Just float a favor at her. Insinuate.
Наверняка есть какой-нибудь другой способ подтвердить нашу принадлежность к органам права.
I will be frank with you. If I'm going to break protocol, I need to be able to justify it to my superiors. They're going to want to see something very tangible.
You're in, but expect her to drive a hard bargain.
Например?
Reports from inside Terminal B suggest it's a hub for the local drug trade. This is an open secret in Martinez. The Union controls the terminal, so it goes to reason.
They're profiting from this trade.
The company has tried looking into this matter before, to no avail. Perhaps someone with your authority and resources might turn over the
Господи,
right
как всё сложно.
stones. Or you can recover your badge. Though if I may be blunt with you, it sounds like that may be a lost cause.
Detective, a word in private before we continue.
Давай.
This is not going quite as I hoped it would.
А чего ты ожидал?
Honestly, I was expecting you to use your unorthodox technique to keep her off balance, and not volunteer us to be her henchmen.
Мы теперь ее подручные?
This woman is running circles around us. She might have known about your misplaced badge all along, or she's simply an adept improviser. Either way, we've played straight into her hands.
He doesn't let it show, but there is a limit to how much the consequences of your unprofessional behavior can cost the investigation.
Окей.
Maybe this is all her plan. She might have heard about you.
Ей могло быть известно.
I wouldn't go that far. Her reaction
Ладно,
did
мне
come.
жаль.
I'm sure you will, detective.
Ты предлагаешь отказаться?
No. If there is reasonable suspicion, we must investigate. Otherwise, she could claim we are siding with the Union, or that we are we'd never hear the end of it. What I propose is, we ask her, then we investigate, briefly. But do not share the outcome of this investigation with her. We tell her it's done, and demand for her information on the lynching.
Окей. Так. Что-то я не то спросил у нее, видимо.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with?
Реальность.
This reality.
Yes, reality is your side case. An experimental side case.
Hey. Связано с приступом.
Ah, yes. The episode. Sounds like an acute case of encephalopathy, now that I think of it.
Don't be phased, madame. He functions perfectly well. He only needs a lowdown on all of reality.
Okay.
We may be here a while then. Ask away, officer. I'll help however I can.
All right, we're in. I know these all look good, but begin with the first, okay? It remains a mystery what you mean by this. A strange coldness comes over you as you look at the world. The waves sway the sloop slowly. That's all.
Да. Так, где мы, я и так знаю. Ну ладно, в какие времена мы живем?
These are unimportant times, Detective. You and I were born after the dust had settled. 1,000th of a second too late.
Опоздали к чему?
For the big time.
Что за великие времена?
The revolution.
Ах, и что же это за революция?
It's quite easy. Every 100 years or so, our species gets together to decide what's next, who gets shot in the head, and who gets the mineral rights. It's a real kerfuffle.
Кафафл? И кто словил пулю головой?
Those would be the communists. Generally speaking, 40 million people got shot in the head during the World Revolution. But the communists, they all got shot in the head.
Хорош.
Oh, and the anarchists too. They shot them well. So well, one forgets they even existed.
А коммунисты и анархисты стреляли в ответ?
Did they ever? Before they got shot themselves, they shot 2 million people.
Да, походу, недостаточно людей получили пулю в голову.
This does not represent the official RCM opinion.
Don't worry. Klas Mazov shot 15 million people in the head. But that was all the way over in Grad.
А кто-нибудь на противоположной стороне?
Oh, lots of people. Even the king got shot in the head, or thrown beneath a horse, or drowned. Accounts differ. It was unceremonious. Just as well, he wasn't actually the king. Just the king's nephew.
Okay.
The real king abdicated and lived out a long and productive life as a venture capitalist in Grad.
Умный король.
Yes. King Guillaume had a nose for bad PR. He ran before it. What is the expression? Went down? Anyway, Gil got out alive and his nephew Frisell got shot in his place. Him and tens of thousands of his wonderfully fascist kingsmen. It was a wild time.
Хорош. А у кого права на недра?
The liberals got the mineral rights. And by mineral rights, I mean everything.
А под либералами?
Liberals are usually middle-class people, Detective. Or the remaining gentry. The beneficiaries of the pre-revolutionary arrangement. Some were rich enough to stay with the constitution, with monarchy. Big mistake. Others bet on the revolution. They were called the ultras, or ultra-liberals. They fared well.
Как им удалось выиграть?
They didn't win so much as survive. We were the last ones standing when the war ended. Everyone else got shot in the head, remember?
We, She's one of them, of course.
Of course. Если бы все были мертвы, то кому было сдаваться?
To foreign intervention. The coalition. Those people really took the mineral rights.
Сказать, что либералы так все забрали.
The liberals took everything that wasn't nailed to the ground. The coalition took the ground. The ocean, the laws, and the people.
Оу, а кто входит в коалицию?
The coalition of nations. Grad, Mesk, Vesper, Messina, Oranje, and Sur-la-Clay. The armed center of the world. They landed here and ended the revolution. It was the moralist thing to do.
There
is bitterness in her voice, tempered with understanding. She is critical, but ultimately understands the cause.
По-моралистски?
The moralists believe in keeping everything exactly the way it is. They believe in mineral rights, and not shooting people in the head. At least not in the same manner and volume as the others do. They are the long-standing provisional rulers of Revachol now, the coalition government. This is their zone of control. They embolden the RCM with crumbs of the same law they took. Technically speaking, you are a moralist.
Я смотрю, чем дольше я читаю все эти тексты, все время вспоминаю это, как это, Собчак. Опасное марксистское говно. Да-да-да.
The color of moralism is blue. The official motto of Moral Intern, or Moralist International, is a blue forget-me-not, a piece of grey sky. Unofficial. For a moment, there was hope.
Не думаю, что я моралист, мадам.
Of course. Not easy to be moderate about head shooting in your line of work.
И когда случился этот кавардак?
The turn of the century revolution? Don't answer it. It's a trick question. The revolution began in 02 on the Isla of Grad, though by the end nearly the whole world had gotten involved.
И кто ее начал?
It wasn't a who, but a what. A pandemic of Zarat, a particularly virulent prion disease, which the authorities in Grad proved unable to contain. Then Mazov came along and overthrew the government.
И что этот царат делал?
It made people overthrow their governments.
Правда?
Of course not. It was a highly infectious microorganism that destroyed brain tissue. The actual causes of the revolution were material. The pandemic only provided the spark.
И куда все это распространилось?
From Revachol and Grad? Not far. The world managed to cauterize itself. Mazov's government was overthrown in 08, and the coalition crushed the Revachol commune 2 years later. It was the end. Why? You and I, officer. Our lives in the zone of control.
Something tells you her life and yours are not that similar. Maybe it's because she has a boat and you have that necktie? A pair of pants?
Что такое зона контроля?
A city-state divided into free market zones
Free
under
market.
the everlasting interregnum of the coalition of nations, and you, of course, the citizens' militia.
Citizens militia,
The
okay.
clatter of typewriter keys fills the main hall of the reappropriated silk mill. Precinct 41. Chad Tilbrook presses enter. Outside, Officer Elfboy Williams slams the door of
Elfboy.
an armored motor carriage.
The zone of control is the third incarnation of Revachol, after the failure of the suzerain and the commune.
А что случилось с остальным миром?
Modernity. They developed the marvels of the inter-eastlery communication. Telematic milieus, radiation, coloured
Radiation.
plastics. Meanwhile, in Revachol West, the aftermath continues for the 5th decade.
51 minus 8 equals 43.
Ого, 43 года?
Time flies.
И чем вы занимались все это время?
The 20s saw a decade of urban war, west of the river levelled, offshore platforms in flames. Still, it's regarded as an improvement on what came before. 08 to 19 was simply hell.
А что потом?
The 30s? Things settled down in the 30s. Revachol East transformed itself into the world's largest tax haven, with the international community's blessing. For the first time in a long time, it seemed like things were going somewhere.
А мы двигались?
No. It was a market mirage fueled by cocaine and quantitative easing. The 40s dispelled it like a cold splash, an Isla-wide hangover, you might say. And here we are.
Продолжить.
Welcome to reality, baby.
О,
For her to be where she is, Wild Pines Group must have picked the right side.
а на чьей стороне была Wild Pines?
They picked the winning side. That's why they're here, and others are not.
Мудрое решение.
Perhaps it wouldn't have turned out that way had I been in charge. I might have bet on the king and led the Pines to doom.
А вы бы стали на сторону короля, серьезно?
I would have sided with the cannons. If you'd seen the calibers of the things, you might have too. Perhaps it's better I was born when I was. 10 of the 14 Indo tribes got it wrong. Feld, Kupri, Tricentennial. So I suppose I would have been in good company.
Что бы вы изменили?
Good question. What would you have done differently?
Ну, что-то все ответы мне не нравятся. Ну ладно, какова ваша роль во всем этом?
And I asked you, past less detective of the citizens' militia, what insight has acute encephalopathy given to you?
Ну, какая-то ерунда в ответах. Если у меня коммунистическая башка, то почему я не могу найти нормальный ответ? Так, ладно. Пусть будет второй.
So a quarter of humanity simply lost their minds. And how would you stop a prion, a complex folding protein, unlife, with a technology 50 years ago?
Первое.
Good hygiene. Really. A very moderate solution to an extreme problem. It's those sort of half measures that doomed the authorities in Grad. When they failed to step up, Marzov and his party stepped in. In this particular case, maybe a more robust state response might have been appropriate.
Что-то мне ответы тут не нравятся вообще.
Opinions expressed here do not reflect the official position of the RCM.
And what is your official position, Lieutenant?
My position, ma'am? My parents got ripped to shreds in the revolution. I would have gone the same way. I was saved by being 2 years old. That's my position. The abattoir.
Understandable. They
Довольно.
are what they are. Who knows? An afterbloom may yet come. Anyway, enough.
Not so fast. Who is she in all this? Ask her who she is. She owes you an answer.
Расскажите мне о том, что вы такое.
She won't maneuver her way out of this one.
I am the vilest of the vile. A traitor. A devourer of nations and infants. I am an ultra.
Dios mío, liberal!
Yes. I am the nether creature of the forbidden swamp. I pushed the king under a shit wagon and betrayed the revolution.
О,
My kind
меньшевики!
surrendered the nation to financial colonists. I can see you thought we'd gone extinct. After all, no sane person identifies as an ultra-liberal anymore. Not in broad daylight. You're a centrist at heart. A real moralist, no? Tell me, now that I've uncoiled myself, do you find me frightening?
In her green eyes you see a mixture of truth and self-satire. Decades of guilt and pride. Forgive her. But only because you like pearlescent teeth and those light green eyes.
Я прощаю вас.
I do hope so. I hope we're able to remain collegial despite it. Remember, we were partners, whether you like to admit it or not. There's blood on many hands, I assure you. When the dust settled, the Liberals were the only ones left to clean up the mess. By virtue of their survival, they were handed enormous power to shape the future.
А вы поступили бы иначе.
Generation managed. With due respect to our overlords, the eternal caretaker government that keeps Martinez a monument to the efficacy of its artillery, I would not have relinquished sovereignty to the coalition. Not here in Martinez, and not in the Stella Maris or Delta Beachheads either. If not for my own sake. Then for my daughters. We had an obligation to defend our sovereignty. We should have burned the whole Isola down rather than let them have it.
Dark orange flames reflect in her green eyes. An oil fire on the ocean.
Вы умная женщина.
Perhaps. My intellectual vanity will be my undoing.
You're no dummy yourself.
И иначе меня это тоже погубит.
And the crown on your head as you lay in the casket.
Вы патриотка?
Yes, I suppose I am. But I wouldn't be a patriot anywhere but here.
Seditious talk, man.
У вас есть дочери?
Yes. Whatever else I am, I'm also a mother and a wife. Now,
Ладно,
shall we
хватит.
return to reality? Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Anything else?
Так, что можете рассказать о забастовке?
Everything. Right up to, but not including, trade secrets.
А если я хочу услышать именно о коммерческих тайнах? Ну, это понятно. Какую роль вы играете во всем
I
этом?
believe the official title is Senior Labour Negotiator. In practice, I'm a grocery clerk. I relay the union's demands to Wild Pines and return with Wild Pines' counteroffer.
And how are the talks going?
They're not. That's the problem. The union stopped all negotiations a week ago, after that awful lynching took place. Now they won't even let me into the harbour. There's a 2-meter-20 racist behemoth blocking the gates.
Подробнее громили.
What can I say? The union employs a giant covered in tattoos. A racist giant. I guess that's part of their big tent organization now.
Как проходили переговоры до того, как случился самосуд?
Let's say I was not making the kind of progress I'd hoped for when I first arrived.
And when did you first arrive?
I arrived 3 weeks ago. Yes, in the middle of February. The bay was still partially frozen then. I prefer to do these things on site, like the RCM.
But the strike began in December.
I wasn't the original negotiator here. I took over after Mr. Gaumont hit a wall with Mr. Clare, the union boss. Mr. Clare refused to speak with Gaumont despite concessions he'd granted the union in prior negotiations.
This isn't the first time the union has gone on strike.
Heavens no. There have been 2 prior strikes. Both times the union won significant concessions, including overtime pay and a medical plan. This time their demands are more, I guess you could say, aggressive.
Ludicrous even. It's meant.
И что же случилось с этим гомоном?
Mr. Clare told him to... How did he put it? Fuck off, midget. Gaumont is short of stature, you see.
Да, не очень получилось.
Keep in mind, this is a negotiator Mr. Clare has worked with before, and who was more than fair with him and the union.
Какие требования они выдвигают?
There are leaflets everywhere, and banners. What did they say again? Oh yes, every worker, a member of the board.
Most of the workers probably don't know what that means.
Мне нравится.
Then you might also like their other slogan. Demand democracy.
Недостаточно радикального коммунизма.
Personally, I agree. It lacks the pizzazzo of every worker a member of the board.
А что они вообще этим хотят сказать? Какие требования выдвигают?
It's quite simple, you see. Every time the Wild Pines group makes a decision about what, About anything, really. It needs the signature of each of the 2,200 workers in its Martinez terminal.
Нет, но это уже польская демократия какая-то. Посполитовская демократия. Это не демократия.
Just so you understand, this is but one of 22 terminals owned by Wild Pines. Essentially, not only are they kings
Это вообще
of
не
the
демократия.
company, they are also kings of the 72,000 employees of Wild Pines Group.
An opening gambit, surely.
Так. Похоже на приглашение к дальнейшим переговорам. Да, я должен признать, это действительно смешно.
They're having a blast. But how can they afford it? After 4 months, my assumption was they would prefer a more practical solution.
Похоже на приглашение.
So I hoped. But this type of opening is usually followed by a more reasonable offer. I have yet to hear one. Just the same nonsensical slogan repeated over and over again. And now, people are getting lynched, I hear. Behind the whirling in rags. A disastrous situation if there ever was one.
Excuse me, from whom did you hear about this lynching?
I first heard it from the boyer at the gates. The one whose very name advertises his aversion to work. I think he said it was, "Call me mañana."
This checks out.
Так. А что насчет отщепенцев у ворот? Вы их туда отправили?
The scabs? You mean the huddled masses of Jamrog, come to plead for work where the union refuses to? If they were organized by Wild Pines or its affiliates, then it would be a company secret. I could not share it with you. Not right now, at least.
It's implied. She's open to discussing this matter with you at a later occasion.
Расскажите о председателе профсоюза господине Клэре.
Everard Clare is a man of the utmost
Passion.
integrity.
А-а.
If you can say one thing about him, it's that he always puts the interests of the workers first.
She's being sarcastic. Don't take her performance literally.
Вы ведь на самом деле не так думаете.
Of course not. Everard is fantastically corrupt. I imagine he has a thick, viscous goo where you and I have blood.
Ха! Настолько ужасен?
He is the most corrupt individual I have ever seen, and I deal with men like him for a living. If there is anyone more venal, more irredeemably nepotistic, then it's his twin brother, Edgar.
Все, их еще и двое.
Yes, Edgar looks exactly like his brother, except for that lazy eye. He also talks exactly like Everard does, and when one's term as foreman is up, the other takes over.
Хорош.
It's how they circumvent the term limits, you see, with a funny little switcheroo. While in office, they've embezzled God knows how much of their workers' dues.
Так, а про сам союз?
The Debarders Union was once a perfectly normal institution. 20 years ago, anyway. It must not have been easy to establish under the Emergency Act, but they did it. I can respect that. Organised labour at its best, as they say. Then something happened in the local chapter elections. The brothers Clare came and transformed it into a... how do you say...
А?
A mob. The Debarders are a crime syndicate. Sad as it may be, I suspect we'll be forced to cooperate with them.
Refreshingly honest, officer. The company has tried appeasing in the past, but I'm afraid our concessions have only emboldened Everard and his brother.
Возможно.
And your opinion, detective, if I may ask? I'm a curious and talkative person, you see. Would you say the Debarders Union is...
Ну, мне еще не сложилось определенное впечатление.
Of course, officer.
Какая-то история с выборами, вы сказали.
I'm glad you asked. There was a woman, the previous forewoman of the Union. She disappeared.
Disappeared?
Yes. On the last day of the local chapter elections, her daughter phoned in and said she wasn't running anymore. Or coming to work. Ever. End of story.
Шантаж?
Indeed. The company suspects foul play, but there's nothing they could do. It was a union matter. The point of the presentation is, these kinds of things happen around the Clares. Watch out when you're dealing with him.
Thank you for your concern, ma'am. We'll be just fine.
Of course. How else
Так,
can I help?
это я, по-моему, кликал.
What we do.
Ладно,
I'm
нет.
afraid I don't speak for Wild Pines as a whole. It's a giant undertaking.
There was a touch of discomfort there. She wants to merely represent.
Окей, чем они
The
занимаются?
Pines' core competency is logistics.
О, бешеные бабки.
Container shipping, freight, that sort of thing. See those airships there, blinking? Those are the shipping side of things. And that is the terminal. Another subdivision deals with energy, oil and gas exploration, offshore platforms.
The Wild Pines Group is one of the original Revacholian Indo-tribes. Companies awarded royal monopolies by the king, the suzerain himself, centuries ago. The king is long gone, but several of the Indo-tribes remain.
Что еще за индотрибы?
Son Baptiste, LUM, an unknown entity known as Brightest Star.
Славная компания.
Why, thank you.
Сколько у Wild Pines денег?
I'm not at liberty to discuss the company balance sheet, but I can tell you that last year the company booked more than 20 billion real in revenue.
О,
A billion?
да, это намного больше суммы, которой располагаю.
Yes, past a certain point, numbers begin to seem imaginary, but they are quite real for the 72,000 employees who depend on Wild Pines for their paychecks. A conglomerate the size of Wild Pines is like a shark. If it stops moving and growing, it will die.
Хорош.
Then what becomes of those 72,000 families? It is a tremendous responsibility.
И откуда все эти миллиарды?
They started as an exploration and cargo fleet conducting trade between the Samaran and Insulindian Isolas 250 years ago, when pine ships explored the South Seminese and charted Lormantang on behalf of the suzerain. Centuries of care, deliberation, and madness have gone into this endeavour. Vessels pass through the great unrest to re-emerge with apricots in tow. The logic of the system is totalizing. It's taken everything from its employees to build it.
Полагаю, наличие королевской монополии тоже поспособствовало успешному старту.
You know more than you let on. Certainly it helped, but most of the original Indo tribes have failed or been absorbed. To survive, Wild Pines had to grow and adapt. No suzerain did that.
Окей. А что такой гигантской системе нужно в таком месте?
You mean aside from being the terminal's legal owners, who are responsible for moving 8% of the world's cargo?
Ну... Да, второе.
We built this district.
We. There it is. She owns up to it.
All the best parts of it. Rue de Saint-Ghislain, with its bastions. The plazas Meteor and Mosaic. Even some of the old street lamps have been put back thanks to the investments from the WP.
Окей, окей.
Before Martinez was swallowed by the industrial harbour, even before it was part of Revachol, long before Terminal B was erected here, the Pines built it as a resort for its Revacholian employees. A company getaway, for a weekend or a summer holiday. Then came the revolution. But that's another matter. I'm here to make sure the Pines can fulfill their responsibilities to the place they built.
Она сказала, не потом появился революция, а потом пришла революция. Буржуазная
With
старуха,
your
да.
help, hopefully, says her warm tone.
Окей, расскажите мне об этой предполагаемой контрабанде наркотиков.
It's quite straightforward. Someone is using Terminal B to smuggle raw ingredients from the Samaran Isola into Revachol with the Union's blessing. Wild Pines has suspected it for years.
Ingredients for what, ma'am?
Meth and dextroamphetamine, GBL and various synthetic psychedelics. Honestly, it might be quicker to say what you can't make from the stuff.
Так, из Самары в Ревашоль через терминал поступает.
Yes. After they clear the terminal, we lose track. The actual production is taking place at various sites in and around Jamrock Quarter, north of here.
Wild Pine seems to be well apprised of the local drug trade, ma'am. Do you mean to say the Union also produces the product? Sells drugs, I mean?
We're in logistics. It's our business to know. And no. As far as the company knows, the Union does not produce it. They transport the ingredients for a cut.
Окей. Вы хотите, чтобы мы расследовали это дело?
Yes, but you won't get anything out of Evrat and the Dockworkers Union. Still, every chain has its weak link.
Факт.
The handoff. The motor lorries at the roundabout.
Грузовики.
Precisely. Someone needs to move the ingredients from the harbour into the city. Once they reach Jamrock, they're distributed to a network of local manufacturers well beyond our grasp. But in transit, they're vulnerable. Perhaps you've noticed that a number of lorries are tangled in a traffic jam at the roundabout just now. Interview the drivers who are still hanging about. One of them might be waiting for a crucial shipment. I'll be explicit. If you find this driver, I will share company secrets with you.
Uncovering Union secrets could also give you an upper hand when dealing with them.
Ну да. Так. Почему не обратились в РГМ раньше?
We did. On more than one occasion. Apparently, there's some sort of inter-precinct disagreement about whose jurisdiction this area falls under.
Красота.
We know the company has launched its own probe into the Union's alleged involvement. We also know it's come up empty. It's not just the RCN. No one's been able to find any hard evidence.
Well, here's your chance, officers.
То есть застрявшие на перекрестке грузовики — это не случайность?
No. We asked East Motor Track to raise the drawbridge. The road company is a partner of one of our subsidiaries. However, this is a limited time opportunity. Once the complaint has been processed by the Trade Committee, they'll have no choice but to lower the drawbridge, and the operation will continue. Thousands of litres of raw ingredients will pour onto the streets of Revachol. Not the east across the river, but the west. The vulnerable, the weary.
Well, at least this solves one mystery.
What is that, Lieutenant?
Why I had to call East Motor Track and beg them to open a drawbridge for me. I'd wondered since I first drove in, on my motor carriage.
Еще далеко до
I
этого.
am sorry for the inconvenience, Lieutenant Kisaragi, but we need them trapped here. This is a unique opportunity. I'm sure you understand.
Чем можете доказать, что Профсоюз замешан в этом деле?
How do you think they're financing this strike?
Факт.
There are thousands of unpaid dock workers going strong for the 4th month straight.
There was a shakedown of local businesses preceding the strike. Many were squeezed to bankruptcy to fund it.
With all due respect to these desert cacti, the contents of a few cash registers cannot provide for 2,000 men. The local businesses can scarcely provide for themselves.
То есть сырье наркотиков финансирует забастовку.
Precisely. Smuggled out of that very gate at night, most likely, then loaded onto lorries and driven to Jamrock. You simply need to find one driver who will open up to you.
It sounds like she tried looking into it herself, but she's clearly not the type your typical lorryman would confide in.
Ладно.
Yes?
Да возьмемся.
Excellent. It may come to nothing, or it may just blow the case wide open. I can keep the drawbridge up for a few more days at least. You should have the time you need.
Да. Но профсоюз бандитский.
In the meantime, let me know if there's any other way I may be of assistance. Of course,
Так. И сколько... Ой, еще больше половины уровня еще получилось. Сейчас ошибись. Так. Драма, визуальный анализ. Давайте логику качать теперь. Так, самоубийство краса. Окей. Так, к сожалению, это все на сегодня. Значит, завтра, сейчас я на час перерыва ухожу, потом будет вывешен плеер 3D клана и будет стрим Age of Empires 4 турнира. Так, подожди, а как? Ну ладно. Ну что, в этом самом турнир Age of Empires 4 вместе с Sub-Zero. Вы будете видеть плеер, чат я буду читать гудгеймовский, но это все. Потом вечером, если не будет слишком поздно, еще что-нибудь посмотрим. Завтра тогда с утра, как проснусь, продолжу Disco Elysium, потому что мы отстаем по прохождению Disco Elysium, и завтра побольше надо пройти. Я собирался сегодня до вечера играть, но вот SAOE 4 он должен был начаться в 8, а утром мне написали, что он переносится на 5 вечера. Мне нужно еще подготовиться. Такая вот жопа. Вот. Завтра тогда будет Disco Elysium. Все, увидимся через час на Age of Empires 4. Ага.